Welcome back, everybody. Welcome to the New Cow Corner. Today I have a special guest, someone that I've grown to consider a friend over the last few years, Mr. Wally Kern from Supreme Geckos. Thanks for coming, Wally.
Anthony,
I can't say enough positive things about you. I mean, you're literally a legend in my books. I don't think there's a creator, at least a gecko creator online that's been doing this as long or even close to as long as you have. I mean, there's very few people that have the experience and the experience that you have with geckos, selling geckos, the online content stuff, the whole circle. You were very ahead of your time. Let's just say that. And I appreciate you coming on, and it's always a privilege because I get to learn so much from you. You know, I'm always learning from you every whether it's a conversation about geckos or we're talking about, creating content or just life. I can always learn from you, man. And I cannot emphasize how much I appreciate that, Wally.
I'm in the same boat as you, Anthony, and I consider you a true and honest friend as well. And one of few, because I don't open up to a lot of people. So thank you for your friendship, number one. Number two, I think that goes above and beyond. I don't consider myself, like that at all. I'm just part of the community.
It's you,
I'm learning
modest.
every flipping single day, just like you are. I'm asking people probably the same questions that you're asking. I might have more experience because I've been doing this for 25 years and I have a lot of enclosures, a lot of geckos, blah, blah, blah. But um, my experience is only from doing things so many times the wrong way that I learn. Hopefully, I learned through that experience. And I love sharing that information because hopefully I can keep other people or help,
Sure.
open minds so that they don't do the same things.
That's one of the most special things I think there is about you. And then the last thing we do on this podcast is badmouth anybody, and that's not what I'm trying to do. But you are the last person to gatekeep. You learn something, you share it. You come across something that made your life easier, you share it. You literally, it feels like you are always trying to level the community up with you. You don't want to have one up on anybody. You want to take the whole reptile hobby up every time you learn something. I mean, and it's really beautiful. It's a beautiful thing, and on the reptile hobby's behalf, I have to thank you, because you're always dropping jewels every time you, like I said, you learn something or you're experiencing something, or even when you make a mistake, you show a video or put some content out so we can avoid making the same mistake that you did, or teaching us what you learned via the mistake. I don't know how to exactly articulate what I'm trying to say, but it's a beautiful thing that you do.
I appreciate that, and I like to put out positive content, videos or comments or sayings or quotes or whatever. I've always been a fan, and this goes way, way back. I was in the corporate world for 40 years as a professional. I'm retired, obviously, but I've always abided by the rule of, share publicly positively. And if you have anything negative, share individually. So, you know, I try to, if I see something going on in the hobby that's maybe not positive, I'll share privately with the person. But boy, there's nothing that I enjoy more than seeing a good picture of a gecko or somebody doing something special with geckos and sharing that with the community. That's a blast. That's so much fun.
Well, yeah. So we've been on some other podcasts together, and we've had some beautiful conversations, some wonderful conversations. But I wanted to have you on New Cow Corner specifically, for a few reasons. I think, to me, it's no secret that you work with New Caledonian geckos. You may be known, and I'm trying to like tossing the idea around in my head. Like, if I didn't know Wally, what would I know Wally for? And I guess I can't really pick one species, right? Like, I would say Wally's a gecko guy. Wally would be one of my first calls if I was looking for a gecko I couldn't find anywhere else. I would at least check in with Wally, right? But truth be told, you produce some beautiful New Caledonian geckos. Your gargoyle geckos, your crested geckos. I mean, you got some cool stuff.
I appreciate that. I'm going to go back 20 some years. And when I first got into crested geckos, um, I kept leopard geckos. I
Hmm.
could keep crested geckos because they eat insects too. Purchased a pair of crested geckos that first year, immediately purchased another pair. And then I bought, I think, four different groups of crested geckos. So I was working with probably 20 to 30 that first year that I got into crested geckos. And the thing that really hit me hard was, we would do a reptile show and I would show off the next year. Obviously, we would do a reptile show. I would show off the geckos that we were producing. And again, you've got to think this is 20 some years ago. And the thing that always struck me was that moved. Color moved. So if I had a red crested gecko on the table, it was gone. Um, if I had an adult red male on the table, that was the first gecko going. So, I've kind of focused in that regard, and I've that's kind of been my motto from day one: is color or something so extreme that somebody's going to be walking by and they're just kind of looking at the table, and then they see that one gecko that really catches their eye, and they stop, and then the conversation starts.
Hmm.
So that's been my focus.
Sure.
I'm sure you're going to ask this later, but I'm going to just briefly say I haven't chased the morphs until recently, and that's been on purpose because just too many balls in the air. Um, and I feel like I'm way behind now, but it is what it is.
Not way behind at all. I like we had mentioned earlier, I did the same thing. I probably got into them a week before you. I started getting the caps and my fraps and stuff, and people like us, I think in general, that and I'm not knocking anybody, we don't morph chase, right? We admire what people do. I enjoy watching people work with these new morphs, have a blast. I'm not going to spend the 30 grand, right? I don't have this dire desire to be the first at anything, but I'll learn. I can watch you. I can learn. I can root for you. I'll cheer you on. Like, rock out. All these years have passed now. And probably like yourself, I've seen enough that now I'm interested to work with. I feel like I can improve something, right? I feel like I can bring something to the table working with these new genes. So now's the time. The prices have come down enough. They're more accessible than they were. And not only are they more accessible to us, people that are willing to spend more money on an animal, but we can also afford to sell them for a reasonable price to other people to bring them into their homes now, right? If you go to a show and put them on the table, a lot of these guys that we know have these geckos on the table for 2 grand, 2,500, $3,000. Great, awesome, happy for you. The odds of a non-gecko breeder buying them are slim to none, right?
Yep.
When you're trying to get animals into a family's hand, into a child's hand, $3,500, while he's just out of the question. You can't do that. It's
Yes.
just not
Yes.
practical. But a
And
couple $100 is, $500 is for a kid that's been good all year, that's done great in school, and his parents willing to drop that money on an animal he really wants for a Christmas present or something. And you can, with some of these new morphs, the caps and the fraps, I feel that's a reasonable number. In between that $300 to $500 range, you can get some beautiful cappuccinos, some beautiful frappuccinos, some beautiful lily whites. I mean, you know.
I
So
put
what
out. Go ahead.
what
Go ahead.
made you what walk us through what was your whole
Why
process? Why did you decide now, and what inspired you?
why did I throw my hat in the ring? Um, I put out a video, and maybe some people have seen this, but about 2.5 years ago, I put out a video. Is the market something about the market on the crested geckos? Is the market
Mm-hmm.
crashing? And I said it's not. There's some amazing breeders doing some amazing things with the crested geckos, and I, uh, just like everybody, has been very excited to see all of these different colors and patterns, and it's just
Mm-hmm.
so exciting. And I tell you what, I think what has happened also is that there's been more knowledge being shared. Go
Yeah.
back 10, 15 years ago, there are no morphs in crested geckos. Now we know that there are. And not only that, we're identifying, some of the keys to identify these different morphs,
Sure.
obviously with lily white and cappuccino and frappuccino and all, but some of these other morphs as well. So that video, I specifically said, this is really super cool. It's just that some of these genes are dominant genes, and the market is a little bit inflated right now. I saw the same thing with leopard geckos, again, 20 some years ago with Max Super Snows, $2,000 an animal, $1,000 the next year. The next year they were $100 a piece because of the co-dominant for that animal. So I said at that time in the video, just, unless you really, 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 really have to, just wait a couple of years, and the prices are going down. So we just recently purchased 4 frappuccinos that I thought looked really nice. And the reason I did it was because the price went probably 1/50th of the price that they were 2 years ago. Um,
Sure.
so, so it was our opportunity to kind of jump in and play around. Is it, the mainstay of what we're doing? No, we're still working with reds, and we're working with Dalmatians, and we're working with pinstripes. And if that market changes whatsoever, I don't care. I don't care because, we do a lot of reptile shows and we sell a lot of animals to families. And to be able to provide a crested gecko, a great pet to a family, is our number one goal, period. We're not chasing morphs. We're not trying to compete with some of the top names. Never will happen. I
Don't
just don't
have
have
to.
time, and I don't have that energy. And if I had the $30,000 that you were talking about, I'd go out and get New Zealand geckos. You know, so that's not our or my focus at all. But I love them, and now the price has dropped, and now I can kind of play around with 4 or 5 or 6 groups.
I'm excited for you. You know, I I've been like yourself, been watching for years, and the caps and the frap things with the reds, Wally, you will love what they do with these reds. You're gonna make oranges like you're gonna love what you can do with these things. I mean, I think that it's a match made in heaven. When I saw you made that post, you did it, I was literally cheering for you. I'm like, hell yeah, Wally, get it, Wally. You will you're going to do some amazing things with them. And I don't know how the genes interact yet, but I know that you will figure it out. I know that you will do amazing things with those animals. And again, it's literally like a match made in heaven. Watching you get these new genes, not that it's going to reinvigorate anything that you're assuming that you've lost any type of
Yeah.
enthusiasm, but it's going to, for lack of better words, put new life into your crested gecko projects. You will really enjoy what some of these, I think, what some of these animals are going to do to your, in your breeding projects. I think you're going to really, really enjoy it.
I
And I'm
like how you
excited. I'm so excited to see what you
Thank you
produce.
very much. I like how you said that. It's not going to rekindle that fire. The fire's been going for 25 years, except for 2 or 3 where work took over my everything. Um, but the fire's always been going. This is a new log. This is another log being put on that fire, to just kind of
Sure.
kindle it a little bit and keep it going and make it bigger. It's another phase. It's another piece. But I'm going to say, Anthony, as excited as you are for me, I'm just as excited because you're working with some of the same reds that I'm working with. Your reds are amazing, and
Love them.
you're already looking at that, next year or two with some of the animals that you recently purchased. I know that. So this is going to be you and me, for the next couple of years
Right. Hell
comparing
yeah.
notes.
I'm
And
excited. That's awesome.
yeah,
Again, I love when my friends get animals that I wish I had, or other people wish they had. Like, there is zero hate in my blood. Like, I am ecstatic when someone gets great animals. I am just as happy watching your videos of your hatchling boxes as I am when I come in my room and hatch my boxes. I'm like, yes. When I see something awesome on your videos, I'm like, yes, Wally. Like, and that's again someone else also that enjoys the reds the way I do. A
yes,
little quick story about myself, right? When I first
yeah,
started doing these geckos, my first animal was an orange red phantom gecko. Now, I had zero intentions of breeding them or doing anything with them. I've had reptiles my whole life. It was just my first crested gecko. I can't tell you, let's say this. I wish I had $1 for every person that told me don't breed or work with those red phantoms. They're basics, they're basic animals. You'll never get anywhere. I said, well, I never really thought about selling them, so that doesn't matter. And well, every time I look at a table full of animals, the only ones I like are the red ones. So why do I care what anybody's buying or not buying? If you don't like them, then they'll be cheaper for me to buy. Okay. So I never cared what anyone said. But so many people told me, don't work with the reds. They're basic animals. They're outdated. They're this, they're that. To this day, 8 years later, they are my favorite animals to work with, hands down, without a doubt, are these red animals of all shades. And that's the other thing too, is that, I mean, you can look at geckos in general and say there's lavender bases, your blacks, your yellows, your whatever. There is equally as many shades of red. There is equally as many shades of red as there is everything else with these crested geckos. And it'll never get old. It'll never get old. The reds and the oranges, if I stayed just in that color wheelhouse, could do this for the next 30 years and would never complain. You'd never hear a complaint come out of my mouth. They're beautiful. And like you were saying earlier, they are showstoppers. When you have them on a table at a show, even if people aren't buying them, they're stopping and saying, what is that? Like, it's so unnatural to be that vibrant and that red that you can't help but stop and ask, and questions lead to curiosity, and that ultimately leads to sales and more people hopping in the hobby and working with animals. And it's a beautiful thing. And if I could give any advice to anyone out there from my short time, in this hobby, is don't breed animals for the masses, right? Breed for, I know it's a double-edged sword, it's an ambiguous topic, but breed for yourself. Breed animals and produce animals that you would want to buy. Produce animals that make you happy. Don't worry about what's trending. Trends come and go. Like I was saying with these reds, I can't, just like all these people told me they're outdated, Wally, they are like the it thing again. These red phantoms and red animals are like the it thing in the crested gecko world right now. Everybody wants to do something with these reds, the red caps, they're putting reds to everything. Everything's coming back around to these reds that everybody told me to stay away from. It's they're beautiful animals.
I 100% agree. I'll always do reds. I always, have had my eye on reds. And I like, what you said. And I kind of feel like I'm going to steal some of your questions from later on in the podcast. But if I were to pick one gecko, I've got a sneeze coming on. If I were to pick one gecko, it would be a red Harley. A high red Harley. Now with lily white and seeing some of the things that are being done with the red lily whites, it's just so cool. Now you made a comment about don't run after the trends, and I 100% agree with that. Here's an example: pinstripes. Pinstripes were hot. Hot when I got into it, and they were hot for about 10 years, and then everybody had red, everybody had pinstripes. I've been watching videos and trying to keep up with the crested gecko morphs and things that are being done. And I've got to throw a shout out to the Gecko Pod podcast. They do such AJ and Harry are doing a great job with that. They had if I remember right, they had a guest on that had red pinstripes, and it's like, here's a gecko, oh, that's cool, and here's a gecko, and that's cool, and talking about some of the sables and things like that, and then to see this red pinstripe, talk about throwing another log on the fire. That was like, that's what I want to do. I want to, in a couple 3 years, I want to have one of those red pinstripes. I've been working with red pinstripes, but I think with the introduction of these new morphs, I think that there's more possibilities to achieve something like that. And to see a red with the lines down the dorsal, oh my gosh, how cool is that?
I think I just hatched some.
Oh, show me right now. Show me.
I'll send you one. I want to check and make sure, but they're they were hatched bright red with all the crests, little white frosts on them. Now, as time's going by, those little frosted tips are spreading down, and I'm starting to see the dots going down the back. So I don't know if the whole thing's going to fill in like a phantom, I can't imagine, but I can imagine that it's going to fill the pins up. But even if it doesn't this generation, then I've hit my mark on what I'm trying to do, and I will in the next couple. But it's
right.
Yeah,
it's a lot of possibilities out there.
Very cool animals. So when you got into this, and I'm sure I've asked you, and I apologize for getting what your answer is, but when you got into the hobby and you started getting those first animals, what did they look like? What were those first animals 25 years ago? What did you get?
Well, you probably asked me this and I probably answered, but I probably forgot. So I'll probably give you a completely different answer at this point. Um, I'm gonna go back to my first group. I'm going to tell a story real quick. So crested geckos gaining popularity, and you'd go to a reptile show, and again, this is 20 years ago, and just about every third table had crested geckos. Now you look at
Really?
today and you hear the same thing. These shows are all crested geckos, and they are. They are. So I remember meeting somebody at one of these shows. She had crested geckos, and she said, "Yeah, I'm maybe thinking about getting out of crested geckos." Oh, well, let me know. I'm always interested in getting a new pair or whatever. And again, a new pair is $150 for a nice one. Pinstripes, maybe a little bit more. Full Harley, maybe about 300, maybe not even that, 250.
Wow.
So, what we saw back then was, again, pinstripes and some Dalmatians. Never saw a super Dalmatian. Nice full Harleys. We never saw the tricolors. We never saw things like that. And obviously never saw the morph. So, talked to this person. She contacted me online. She showed me, I think it was 4 groups. So we're probably talking 12 animals, and the best animal in that group was maybe a really nice Harley, but most of them were not buckskins, but nice, patterns.
Mhm.
But if you walked into a reptile show and saw these animals today on a table, you would go, not so much, and you'd walk past them. But back then, it was everything was, well, I'm going to take that animal and I'm going to develop, I'm going to breed and I'm going to keep the 2 or 3 really nice ones,
Mhm.
and I'll work that line for 2 or 3 years to see what I can get. And that was a foundation for a couple of lines that we developed. But I'm sure for the 12 animals, I bet you I paid maybe 350 or $400 for
That's
those,
amazing.
which at that time was, I feel, reasonable. She was happy, I was happy, and I was just getting into them. So, I'm sure there were flames in there. I'm sure that there were maybe some with, 20 or 30 Dalmatians. Um, but that was it. That's what we saw. That's what was in the hobby. The pinstripes were
No
the big
red
one at that
phantoms
time.
like on your shirt?
What's that?
Like the orange, the phantom that's on your shirt. Nothing. Did
Yeah.
you have when did you find your first animal like that?
Well, remember back then we didn't have all the names that we do now. Phantom, tiger,
So there wasn't any of those?
tricolor. They were out there, but
Oh, they
nobody
were.
looked at them and said, "Oh, this can be used for this pattern or this project, and I can take that patternless and do this with it." Nobody was thinking that far along because everybody was still saying back then, you
It
can't
would have been
predict. You
patternless.
can take a red and you can take a Harley and you're going to get brown, and maybe you'll get a red Harley. Maybe, I don't know. So nobody was looking at the genetics. Nobody was confident in reproducing, specifically what they were trying to work with. Everything was pretty much a crapshoot back then. Pinstripes were pretty predictable. You can take a really nice full pinstripe and another full pinstripe and get a majority of them as pinstripes, but nothing was defined and I don't want to say pure because that's a terrible word. Everything back then was still in the works leading up to, what we saw 10 or 12 years ago. Does that make sense?
It does. It makes a lot of sense. And I think that it's actually amazing that it's come, just to hear that. And in my head, I'm like playing a show, running a show through my head now and seeing how far the animals have come. And even just the terminology, how we went from a patternless animals to knowing and it being dubbed a gene, a phantom gene, and just to see how far that it's come and even the prices. I mean, it's beautiful insight, and it's so rare today. I mean, there's probably uh, damn, how many people left that have been around since you have, almost the inception of crested geckos? I mean, I can name 5, but That's a beautiful insight to have, man. You know, and
It's
again, to
it,
see what you guys have done with these animals from those, beginning basic known mushes of traits and turned them into, these refined animals now is amazing. Amazing. It's even more
we
amazing that it's not even close to being done, how much work can
no.
still be done.
Well, I look at it too as, 20 years ago, we started seeing, 25 years ago, we started seeing some of this with the leopard geckos. Oh my gosh, I can bring that orange through this animal, and now I have a super hypo. I want that carrot tail. I want that full carrot. Okay, 2 generations, and now we have a full carrot tail or about. And then it just gets better. And let's get rid of the spots on these leopard geckos. So at that time, there was that progression with leopard geckos moving the whole morph situation forward with leopard geckos. Unfortunately, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years ago, we saw some. 10 years ago, 12, we saw some. Major stop signs, major road bumps with enigmas and lemon frost and black knights even smaller and max super snows coming out smaller because of the inbreeding. And not that the lemon frost is inbred, but that's another story, or enigma. But we saw some of these problems with leopard geckos. So when we talk, I'm going to bring this up real quick, and I know you didn't ask about it, but I'm going to kind of pull this. when I
Please.
when I looked at, again, I retired about 6, 7 years ago, and at that time we were seeing the lily whites, and we're seeing some of these other animals, not all of them, just some of them. And I thought about getting into lily whites, and at that time I had a bad feeling, and the reason for that was a little bit me being stubborn, but seeing enigmas and seeing lemon frost and how that destroyed I feel destroyed the leopard gecko hobby for many, many years. I think it's, um, on an upward trend right now, but just that enigma in the hobby of having animals that weren't healthy, and then to see lemon frost just take it down completely. My fear with crested geckos was lily white, and lily white is a fatal combination. And the babies, from everything that I've heard and read and talked to other people, I've talked to one person that says that it's not, but at that time, lily white times lily white is bad. So I know in leopard geckos, there were many people selling animals that did have the enigma gene, but they were selling them as normal leopard geckos because it wasn't showing as prevalent. And then to see how that impacted the hobby. You said it didn't have enigma, and all my babies have the stargazing. And I felt that eventually the waters would become a little bit muddy with the lily whites, and that would be a problem. Now, luckily, I think that we're pretty good with people keeping the lineage straight and clean and following it through. And I think that that's one really, really good thing with the emergence of all these morphs is people are doing better record keepings, spreadsheets, um, and following it through and asking for lineage. Now, does it matter if it came from Wally Kern or Anthony or Susie or Billy? Or in my mind, it really doesn't. As long as we can kind of track back, exactly where these animals are coming from. That's the key. And I think that as a hobby, as a crested gecko hobby, I think we've done a really good job with that. But that was another one of my big, big fears of getting into into lily whites at that time.
Sure. Well, it's a valid point. You were right, right? You were right. And I mean, that kind of leads into us with these other morphs, letting other people work on them, right? Even with the cappuccinos and the super caps and how that went downhill real quick. And, that was
Oh,
arguably, it's a fatal gene, I guess you could say. They ultimately, come to their own demise after a year or two. So, I mean, that's another reason that it's good to sit back and watch, right? Like, see what happens with a gene, learn what's going on before you just dive in and spend your life savings. It's wise to, it's very wise to, especially when you're planning the longevity of your business, right? You don't want to go and spend, a year's profits on animals that you ultimately won't be able to sell or do anything with. I mean, it's hey, you made a smart call. You know, you made a wise decision. Good call. You,
You know, you mentioned the issue with super caps as one example. You know, there's several different examples out there, but with super caps, the big difference there is that you have to walk the path to learn where it's going. And unfortunately, that's a dead end. But I think that the people that were working with the super caps, I think they recognized the issue, and I strongly believe that they stopped, or certainly they didn't introduce these new animals to the market.
they did a good job of halting that.
Yes, yes, yes. And maybe they're still working with the super caps to see if it can be. I tell you what, there's a lot of people that were working with enigmas to try to fix that gene. Enigma leopard gecko. There were a number of people working with the lemon frost until the studies came out that said this is genetic, it's in there. And then there was one person that kept working with it, and unfortunately, and I think that with the super caps, we learned a lot. And as a community, we took the responsibility to just nip it in the bud and stop doing it.
Sure, sure. So you did you just you got fraps? Did you get any individual like single genes? Did you get caps and individual lilies now, or you just got fraps?
Just the four fraps. Yeah.
So
Very limited because I know that this isn't my number one priority in
mm,
our facility. We do, again, I hate to do the business and the hobby thing, but business is interwoven so much into what we do from a hobby standpoint. But the fire down deep inside of me is some of the rare geckos. I mean, if I could get cat geckos breeding, oh my gosh, I've got them breeding, but I want to be more consistent
sure,
and um, transition into I can reproduce results
sure,
consistently. So that's what drives me with this. And then there's a lot of other pieces because of the business. I love
sure.
isopods. I love, providing isopods to customers at shows and sending out isopods. We do the isopod Supreme Isopod Show, and that's going to be a part of the business because it's just kind of ingrained in what we do now. And to be honest, the income helps the business and
Mm,
helps me then buy more rare geckos.
mm.
So I kind of look at the
It's
crested
smart. You
geckos the
got
same way.
the best way to get them all is to get fraps, right? You'll make caps, you'll make lilies, and you'll make fraps. Like so, you did do the best way. I was just curious. I have an animal. I produce these animals. I would love to send you one if you want in the fall. These just like your shirt, those phantom lilies. They're not fraps, but they're lilies. I make these orange lilies that look like that on your shirt. I would love for you to have one. I think you would do some
Uh,
amazing things with them. And I've been working on that line since day one, 8 years now. I've been working on those lily phantoms, and I think that you do some amazing stuff with them.
I would be honored.
Yeah. So this fall, I'll send you one. I think I'd like to see you. Well, I guess you can't technically put them to your fraps, but in time you will. In time, you can take. You'll be able to do some cool stuff with them, and they're you'll love them. Trust me, you'll love it. But it's your
Reds will always be a line that we work with here. We're doing the reds, we're doing some pinstripes, red pinstripes, we're doing some red Dalmatians, but
mm,
red is a basic color that I've introduced to a lot of the
sure,
animals that we have here. So anything that
sure,
can make a better red, I'm all for it. And your reds
you'll
are
love them.
smoking hot. So
I
yeah,
appreciate that. What's your
absolutely. Thank you.
plan with these fraps? What is your main goal? What do you feel? Do you feel that you can contribute something? Do you feel that you can improve on something? Do you feel what is your objective in the most respectful way possible?
Yeah,
What was
yeah,
your
no, no
objective
problem.
with getting these fraps? What do you
Yep.
want to do?
Um, when I'm going to jump back three steps. So, in the last couple of months, I've brought in three animals that, I've not worked with before, rarer geckos. And, I don't know a whole lot about them. So I do a lot of research and I have the enclosure set up a month, 2 months beforehand, springtails, isopods, bioactive. So I'm planning and I'm setting up and I'm anticipating, okay, now they're going to go here for a year. They're going to quarantine in these enclosures. They're going to grow up. next year at this time, next spring, then I'll have another enclosure where a little bit bigger, where I will introduce the male to the female, or I'll just have a big enough enclosure for the female that I can introduce the male. So I've got all that working in my mind for these other geckos. And I kind of plan all that, and maybe I'll take some notes and again put something in a spreadsheet or whatever.
What are they?
Um,
You're killing me. The suspense is killing me. What
I'm not
species are
telling. You've got to watch the video when it comes out.
they?
Um, Nothing super, no New Zealand's, so we can move past that. Um, but for the fraps, I kind of know what I want to do. Whatever I do, I'm going to probably take two of them, and I don't know sex yet. Some of them were probable female. It looks like one is a male. If they all turn out to be males, I kind of have plans. If they're all females, then I can do whatever I want to. It kind of doesn't matter. A lot of people will do that where they'll go, "Oh, I just want females. I just want females." I'm kind of the opposite. I'm going after the best male that I can possibly
Sure,
find because I have enough animals that I can produce some nice females.
sure.
So my plan is for at least two of them. I'm introducing them to the red lions to see what I can
Nice.
do in that regard. Maybe a lighter red, maybe a darker red,
I can't wait to
maybe
see
take it
that.
from there.
Yeah,
Maybe a red Harley, things like that. So then the other two, it's up in the air right now, and it's probably going to be. Now we're growing out probably about 50 animals that we're holding back right now. And I'll probably keep maybe 10 of those and eventually sell the others. But of those 10, when we get to spring of 2026, I'll go through the 10 and say, that's going to one of the fraps. So
nice.
while I don't have solid plans, I have kind of soft, fluffy,
Good,
cloud
good.
plans.
It's awesome. You may raise the question in my head now, and I have to ask:
Yeah.
with someone like a collection like yours, you've shown off your gecko room, guys. And for anyone else out there that hasn't watched or seen Wally's videos, obviously, clearly go check out Wally's page. But he's got some awesome tours where he tours his facility. Amazing, amazing facility. Go check out the video, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Wally has an insane, like a dream place. If you like geckos, you're going to want to wish you had Wally's facility.
When you say
So,
insane, you're pretty much saying I'm crazy, right? That's how I
not at
read
all.
what
Not at all. Not at all. You live my dream, dude. I wish, I wish, I wish, I wish, I wish.
I'm
My
blessed.
wife would kill me. But
I'm blessed beyond what I ever thought that I would be. So
absolutely, at least you recognize it. That's awesome. So, my question is with a collection like that and the quality of animals you have, you got some killer animals. What are you looking for when it comes to a holdback? Because you got to be producing, more animals than I could dream of in a season. What will stop you in your tracks and say, I'm holding that one? What do you look for?
yeah, good question. And I think that that's a question that every breeder should be looking at every single year that they're breeding. Do you need to, etch it with your knife in your table saying these are the projects that I'm working with? No. Um, but I can take a sticky note and I can say these are the four things that I really want to work on this year and improve on. And that sticky note should carry forward the next year and the year after that. And eventually maybe it goes away, but this isn't next year's kind of projects that, if I'm doing holdbacks, this is in 5 years, I would like to be here. And maybe, 1 or 2 years it happens, but maybe again, it's 5 years. Um, so when I'm looking at a holdback, I'm looking at, for me, the very first one that comes to mind is Dalmatians. I want to make a better Dalmatian. I want to be able to produce, super Dalmatians without producing, 50 animals and one's a super Dalmatian. So I want to get to that point. I want better reds. We've got some pretty tough reds downstairs right now, and I'm looking forward to next year. We had some nice ones last year, and we're producing better reds. So that's either one or two right there. From there, I want to work with pinstripes and introduce pinstripes to other colors. Maybe a really nice yellow. Um, Creamsicles would be super cool to work on. I've seen some people showing off some really super cool creamsicles. So those are the kind of things that are on my project list for next year. Now, throwing the frappuccinos, I'll sit down at the beginning of next year before I do anything. We're going to go through this year and we're going to sell off, the animals from last year that are growing up, and we'll sell some babies. And then these 50 or so holdbacks at the beginning of during the winter, because nothing's hatching at all and it's boring as crazy downstairs. And it's just like, okay, I'm going to water these animals because they're not eating. So what now? It's 9:30 in the morning. Now what do I do for the rest of? Yeah, that doesn't happen. But in the wintertime, it gives me a chance to again pull out spreadsheets or notes and take pictures and look at animals and say, maybe, and this one goes here and this one goes there. So that's when I start planning out, the next year's um, combinations. But I always have some projects in mind of what I'm trying to achieve. I think any good breeder should be doing that, the same thing.
Sure, for sure. So what do you how do you feel about, how do I say this? Have you ever had an animal that's produced animals? Have you ever pulled a pair and said, you know what, I'm not happy with what this pair's doing, selling them,
Yes.
or you
Yes.
have?
Yeah. Uh, and again, I don't think that I'm, out of the norm. I think we all have to do
No.
that. Number one, you have to always upgrade. You have to. You can't keep every animal. You can't. I get this question all the time, at least once a week. Somebody will say, "Okay, I produce these 10 crusted geckos. I can't decide, which ones to keep and which ones to sell. How do you make that decision? Follow your projects." And it's hard, but if you can hold back one or two, and some people say, well, I don't want to sell the babies. I want to wait and see what they grow up to be. That's cool too. Do whatever you want to, but um, you've got to let them go. You can't keep
Yeah.
everything. So for us, absolutely. So at the again, wintertime, I'm making my plans, and I'm going to back up a step again and say 2 years ago we were breeding over 60, 50 or 60 groups of animals. So females probably 75, 80-ish, somewhere around there.
Mm.
So at the beginning of this year, I made the very defined decision, clear decision that we're going to go back to about 30. We're going to cut our breeders down to about 30 females. And that was very deliberate because we were producing a lot of animals. A lot of other people are producing a lot of animals. And it was taking more space and time. Anthony, I'll tell you very honestly, gosh, probably about 10 years ago, 12, 15 years ago, we were producing about 1,000 leopard geckos a year. And that felt like work. And it felt like I was a leopard gecko factory. And we were selling them to pet stores. We were selling them, all over the place. But it felt like a lot of work and it felt like too much. So I scaled down at that time to about a third of the leopard geckos. 2 years ago, it felt like that. Well, I'll say at the beginning of this or middle of last year, it felt the same way with the crested geckos. We're just producing too much, and the market, it's not right to do this for the market.
Checks and
So,
balances, man. We got to
checks and
check checks and
balances.
balances.
Yes, exactly. So then what do you do? What do you do? Well, you have to go through your list and say, what specifically are my plans in my projects, and do these animals match those? So in a heartbeat, we identified probably 10 groups and said, next show they're out the door. Then it becomes a little bit harder in the next 10 groups, and then it becomes really super hard and the next 10 groups go. But if you're holding back some animals, that makes it a little bit easier. And it's always hard because you have emotions tied to these animals. I'll give you a good example. We now have probably, I don't even know how many, 5, 6, 7 groups of reds that we're working with, maybe 10. And over the last year, we probably got rid of probably, I don't know, 10 groups of reds. And that's hard because, again, emotional involvement, but eventually you have to just move on and you have
It's
to cut
almost,
ties.
I mean, it is methodical the way you do it, and it almost needs to be done. But when you get rid of some animals that you weren't happy with, right? You never would have got rid of them if they were your best producers. They're making your best animals, right? So they were clearly making some things that you weren't thrilled with. When you get
Yeah.
rid of those, you keep animals that you are happy with. And when you keep those animals that you're happy with, they in return produce animals that you will be happier with. When you're holding back animals
You
from those
hope.
animals, you progressively build a better collection and better line if you cut the dead weight every once in a while. It's a hard thing, like you said, I guess, to take that personal sentimental attachment and value out of the picture, but it absolutely has to be done. I still have my very first two animals, Wally, and I don't breed them. And I know I should get rid of them. I know I should give them to some kid or someone that would give them a great pet home. But I am so stubborn. Give me one sec. I gotta let my dog out.
Oh, no
I'm
worries.
so stubborn that I refuse. I refuse to let them go, and I can't talk myself out of it, And it's only for sentimental value that I'm keeping them, And I feel, again, like I said, I feel guilty. I feel guilty that I have them and I'm not breeding anything with them, but I'm giving them a good life. They live a great life. It's just to see someone with a collection like yours. And I'm not saying you don't have sentimental attachment to your animals, but you can do it like this and say, this is what has to be done for the greater good. Boom. Me, I run through my head. No, don't do it. Don't do it. Keep them. You can't really be sure that someone's going to treat them as good as you would. So just keep them. They did you good. And, they're a good reminder of where you come from. So just keep them. You got no reason to get rid of them. Yeah. But in actuality, for the betterment of our collections, we should, do what you're saying, like level up our collections every once in a while, reevaluate, even pairings, run through our pairs. You don't always have to get rid of them, right? Like sometimes we could rearrange pairs and groups and say, oh, maybe this will work better with this one. I ran this pair for a season. I'm not exactly thrilled with what they're doing, but I see how the genes are working with both animals. Maybe they'll work better with those animals, and you swap some pairs around. But I think moving groups, pairs, and even animals out, movement is good, right? Movement is progression. Progression is what we should all be aiming for.
I 100% agree with that. And I think that that's growth as well. I think that that's realization that, we're maybe not working with our best.
Mm.
Um, it's hard, man. And again, unless I went through that 2 years ago and we were producing so many babies and I think that, our business model was fine with that, but in my mind, it was becoming more work, and I was really struggling to keep up with that and social media and the rare
You
geckos
got a lot
and
on your
this
plate.
lot. Everybody has a lot on their plate, but eventually it just becomes too much, and you only have a certain amount of resources. And one of the big resources is time. And if you're spending, a majority of your time on this, then you're not spending time over here. And that's what I realized, last year, a couple of years ago. So I just had to make some changes and move forward and progress and grow in other ways.
Well, good
And
for
that's not
you. And
saying
I'm
that I
glad
don't
you're
have an
honest
emotion.
about it. That's
I don't have an emotion.
inspirational. People need to see that breeders of your status do these things, right? It's a lot of people don't talk about some of this. One of the other things I love about you, you are so transparent, so honest. Like, and it's, some people look at social media and think that that's real life. Like, and maybe some of it is for some people, but social media paints a very pretty picture of things, right? Like a very pretty picture. Everything is perfect on social media. It's not always like that in the gecko world. Sometimes you have animals that don't produce for you. They gotta go, right? They're not producing healthy animals. They're not producing good structured animals. They're not producing what you got them for. They have to go. It's doesn't mean you got to kill them. They can find a pet home. There's plenty of great things to do with them. We're not talking about culling animals. These are just simply if you're producing animals to feed your family and your goal is to produce the best possible, you're gonna have animals. You're going to run into some animals that don't meet your expectations, and you have to face the realization that they're not working for your project and move them along.
But Anthony, I've always been the type to say, if something works for you and it doesn't work for me, unless it impacts me, unless it impacts the community in a very negative way, do
Sure.
what you want to do. You know, if you want to keep your all of your animals, keep all of your animals, but you better be keeping them at a as high of a quality of care as if you had one pair. Um, but if you want to sell all your animals, sell all of your animals, as long as it doesn't, as long as you're not producing 10,000 animals and you're selling them for $1.95, you know, on a website. Um, then there's other issues involved with that, and that's hard. But I'm pretty much, you know, if you want to keep them, keep them. If you want to sell them, sell them. What works for me works for me. And if I can open
Good
up
advice.
and say this is what I do, and somebody goes, that makes sense. Maybe I'll do that too. That's super cool. If somebody else goes, you Wally, you're an idiot. Why are you doing it that way? Cool, then don't do it that way.
When you're selling your animals, do you have a set? And I know there's this like two camps with this. You know, take your babies and grow them out to a certain weight before you think about selling them, or you know your animals in your line so well that you know what things look like and you just sell them. Do you have a do you have a set size or age that you hold an animal back until, or do you how do you work that?
Outstanding question. Outstanding. And again, I know folks like Flawless Crested Geckos that grows everything out to
Yeah,
make sure, that model doesn't work for us. Not that it's right, not that it's wrong. It just for me it doesn't work because they have different types of
sure,
animals and they have to grow them out to see what potential. So
sure.
with my red groups, I know that it's either going to be red or it's going to be pink or it's maybe going to be gray, and I can tell that at 2 months old. I can tell the magnitude of the red in the animal already because I've worked with reds for 20 some years. Um, so we sell some of our animals as babies, 2 month, 3 month olds, and that works really, really well. If I have any shadow of a doubt whatsoever, a big H goes on their enclosure, and it's held. Um, and then I don't check sex either like other people. Oh, you can check sex at 5 months or 6 months, and just like the frappuccinos that we purchased, probable female meant absolutely nothing to me whatsoever.
Yeah. I
Period.
could care less either.
It's a male. I'm not going to complain. At that age, anything can happen. I think they were probably 4 or 5 months old. You should be kind of able to tell, maybe, maybe not. Immediately, if I see pores, any pores whatsoever, if I'm selling an animal and it's 4 months old or 5 months old, and I see any pores, it comes back, and I'm going to grow it out because it might still be a female. And I don't want to price it at a male's price. Males' prices are lower than females, usually, typically. And I certainly don't want to sell it if I think at all that it might be a male and somebody gets a male and they don't want a male. So we're going to pull it back, and I'm going to bring, the Chinese marker out, and I'm going to write on their tub M question mark and the date, so that in 2 months I can look again. Generally, though, if we're growing out, I don't sex them out until I'm ready to start pairing groups out, and then I want to go through my plans. I've got these males and I've got these females. So getting back to your question, my process is we're going to sell babies at starting at about 2 months. We want to wait until they're reasonably, healthier,
Mm-hmm.
and they can go into, because we're selling mostly to families at that age at reptile shows. These animals have to be at an age where they're ready to go into a family home and be held and handled and all of that. So 2 months old, and those are animals that I'm positive for sure, 100%, without a shadow of a doubt. I'm not going to hold them back. And then we'll raise them up to 3, 4, 5. If they still haven't sold at 5 months, I'm really looking at them, and maybe price them down a little bit. And then if they're not sold by 5 months, then I'm going to grow them out, and they're going to be adults. I'm going to sell them as adults, males or females. So at about 5 months or so, they go into bigger enclosures, bigger holding enclosures, and then I wait until they're about 12, 13, 14 months old, and absolutely males and females, mark them, and then sell them as males and females at reptile shows.
Well, awesome. So now I have another question, and I don't want to be too intrusive with this question, or
Bring it on, Anthony. Bring it
what
on.
what are some things that you use to gauge the value on an animal?
Oh,
Are your babies clearly priced more than your adults or juveniles? And you said males are priced a little less than females. If you can and you don't mind, without, or if you don't mind at all, walk us through and tell us maybe about how you go about pricing out individual animals and some of the factors.
this, if anybody in the crust in any of the markets can come on and say, this is my formula for pricing out animals,
I think
and I
anyone
can
has
work
one.
that formula. I think they're I don't think they're seeing the big picture, if I can say it very bluntly. I get asked all, I hate to say this, but again, at least once or twice a week, hey, how much is this worth? I have never, maybe once or twice in the 20 some years of getting, probably about 50 questions online a week. Not once, maybe once or twice, have I ever said, this animal is this price. What I always say, and I did a video on this, and I said, you know, I can't price animals because of this. And here's the dozen factors that more than a dozen factors that contribute to determining the price of an animal. Best answer I can give for people pricing their animals, if they want to learn pricing, go to Morph Market and find your animal. Go to Morph Market, find about what age, the sex, the colors, the patterns, blah, blah, blah. But realize there's a lot of still other factors. If you're taking it to a reptile show, it's going to sell differently than if you're selling it online. If you're a little breeder like Wally Kern, it's going to sell differently than a big breeder like Flawless or Altitude or Anthony Caponetto. It's just different. It's different. So our strategy is, and this is going to be crazy, but our strategy is, if we're selling, we don't sell babies online, but we do sell babies at reptile shows because, again, we're working with families, and babies online, the price of shipping is going to be, a pretty significant part of that price. We sell animals at reptile shows 2, 3, 4 months between $35 for just the basic, you know, uh, buckskin, gray, yellowish, to maybe $100, $150 for a nice pinstripe, nice red. This is going to be a nice, hey, this one right here, this is going to be a nice red. I would jump on this one. So babies, 2, 3, 4 months old, between $35 and $150. Now let's jump all the way to an adult. An average male at, again, reptile shows. We're not going to sell nicer morphs at reptile shows. We generally don't. They're more of a request wish list. Hey, I'm looking for kind of a situation. But for males, they'll vary from, $50 for, and we don't have that many frog butts, not many that have lost their tails. Well, occasionally we'll have one, plain Jane's, $50. And usually they go to families that are looking for their first gecko. Males might go up to, depending on what they are, might go up to $250, $400 at the very, very most. Females, anywhere from $100 to probably about $500 or $700 ish. And again, I'm not intentionally trying to be reflective of this question. I'm just kind of trying to give you generalities so people kind of understand. That's how we price. Now, if we have something out of the norm, like a really, really nice Dalmatian, super Dalmatian, I have a wish list, and I have people that have contacted me that I've put into other things looking for animals like that. And then when we have one available, even though we have a lot of animals going, through the door here, I'll look them up and I'll say, hey, are you still interested? If not, cool, that's fine. But I just wanted to give you a heads up.
Very
So
smart.
that's kind of how we go through our process of pricing and then making them available to other people.
It's awesome. That's very. I think that it's a common question. Like everybody breeds geckos. I mean, it's not terribly hard to do. But people always wonder, like, what is my gecko worth? right? Like I don't sell them, so it doesn't really. I've never really explored the question much because I enjoy giving animals away. I'd rather give an animal to somebody. But I understand that a lot of people, and a lot of people I'm friends with, or quite a few of my friends that breed reptiles, are always in this, they're in this pickle of trying to figure out where to start selling their animals. Like, what do I sell them for? Do I go this route or this route? And and then you'll also see people always, proposing the question, well, this animal looks just like this animal, but this one comes from a breeder with no name, and this one comes from a big name breeder, and the animals are look exactly the same, and this guy wants $1,000 more than this one is. And I never have an answer for people, and they ask me, what do I sell them for? What are they worth? I'm like, I can tell you what I would pay, and if that means anything to you, then run with it. But I am not a pricing guru by any means. I'll pay whatever something costs if I want it. So if
But that's one of the criterias, though. Supply and
mm,
demand is probably the biggest criteria. If the supply, nobody has red fraps, so the demand might be super through the
sure,
roof, or the demand might be nothing because who cares about a red frap? Well, everybody does, but that's a bad example. But um, you know, maybe it's a really super, super nice animal. Here's a great example: super nice pinstripe, clean, perfect pins, just a beautiful animal, dark. Oh my gosh, it midnight black when it, glows. But nobody cares anymore about pinstripes. So the price might be $200-$300. But who determines that? Well, number one, it's supply and demand. Everything starts off with supply and demand, but then you get into, again, 10, 12 other criteria. Like, is it a reptile show? Is it online? Is it a reputable breeder? Is it not? Is it springtime? Is it fall? Is it a male, female? Is it young? Is it old? Um, the colors, the patterns, red. You just mentioned red lily whites. Well, there's a big difference in the market for red lily whites, depending on the intensity of the color and the, more importantly, the how white the white is. There's so many factors. It's impossible. I there's a group on Facebook called What's My Crested Gecko Worth?
heard of this. I've heard of this
Oh
group.
my gosh. I was in it for about a week, and it's just like, what's my crested gecko? And not nobody's asking questions like, are you selling it online? Are you selling it and $300? Where the heck did $300 come from? Um, so I think there's more science to it. Now, if you've been in the process for a little bit longer and morph market, the market, you might be able to come up with a range super quick. This is about a $300 or $400 animal. I hate talking business and prices, but this might be a $300 or $400. But then you have to kind of, am I right? Is that the right feeling? Well, let me go over to Morph Market and let me look up. Oh my gosh, I was way wrong. They're now $600. Same exact animal. So, the best that we can do as a reptile community, as a business, and again, I hate to go the business route here, but the best that we can do is kind of get a good feel through experience of working with other sites like Morph Market of, I think it's about this much, and then really put it to practice and try to sell that animal for that much on Morph Market, or go take it to a reptile show and see how long it sits on your table. We tend to, and Anthony, this is very honest, we tend to not try to be the lowest price at a reptile show, but we're certainly not going to be the high price at a
You're
reptile show.
very
We're going to,
fair with everything. Everything that I've seen you sell has been it's you're for the people, right? Like you're clearly for
yes,
the people with everything that you sell, and I mean that. I am so sincere when I say that. Like every time I see, you have something for sale or something, I'm like, damn, how does he afford to do that? But he must not be making much off of it. But that's Wally. He's just wants to help the people. I mean, it's a very, but
here's
I get it
here's
because I understand what you're doing. I get it. I get it. It's
here's my theory. We lose money on every single animal that we sell, but we make it up in volume.
Makes
Bad joke.
sense.
Bad joke.
It would no. Well, I mean, I see the way. I mean, it could make sense though, right? Like if you're selling animals for $100, but you're selling 5,000 animals a year. I mean, it's almost better than selling less animals for more money because you're putting more animals out there, more animals and more homes, more exposure, more people. I mean, there is a real science to the volume versus numbers thing. I mean, it's
Here's
but hey,
another factor at reptile shows. We take these, 2-month-old, 3-month-old families' first reptile to these
mm,
reptile shows. And, it might sound very low to sell them for $35, but we're going to go to a pet store. Go to a pet store. That's the model right there. I'm going to sell a crested gecko for $35. They're going to sell a bearded dragon for $25 or $30. It might cost them 25 or $30.
mm,
It might cost us about that, but then we can sell some Pangea. They can sell some bearded dragon food. We can sell a setup and maybe some dishes and this and that. A spray bottle for a couple of
sure,
bucks. They're going to sell a whole setup for 125, and they're going to probably make 50 or $60 on that sell. We might make a few dollars here or there and a little tiny bit on the Pangea. But ultimately, it's kind of a diverse kind of process
mm,
for us so that we're selling this, and this. And then once in a while, we'll sell some rare geckos at a reptile
mm,
show. And, kind of that's where my heart is. And, from a pricing standpoint, I appreciate your comment about being reasonable, but some of these rare geckos, it's hard when you produce, one female a whole year, and then to sell the pair, you can't, put them on the market for, $75. So that's where some of our value is with what we do at
sure,
Supreme Gecko.
for sure. I mean, and that's totally understandable too. I mean, some of the animals you're working with, I mean, you are the market, right? Like you are there's not many people working with them. I mean, they go for what you say they go for. I mean, really, I hey, I respect it. I mean, that's the perks of being, that's talent pays, having a skill pays, having the knowledge pays. You have a combination of things that make you unique. You could charge what you want to, that's with those unique rare geckos. I mean, hey, but that's cool though. I mean, it makes sense. You can I see where you could sell certain things for cheaper. Maybe not just your New Caledonian geckos, but just anything, and
Yeah.
then you make it up on another end. I mean, I guess that's just business, right? Like that's business.
I'm not the
People
smartest
inflate
person
a
in the world.
bill, in the construction world. I'm a carpenter. People, my boss the other day was saying something about he was like, you always got to give people a deal. And if you're not giving them a deal, make them feel like they're getting a deal. See, I
Yes.
took their
Yes.
estimate up $300. Then I went into the kitchen and I told them that I appreciated their work and I took $180 off of that. I still came up 100 and something bucks on top of the original estimate. And that's all blah 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 blah. And he's always doing weird things like that, but it made sense, and it's always ringing in my head. Like, I mean, it's a valid point. It's a valid point. Like, if
I
people
tell you
feel
what,
like
you
they're
take
getting a deal,
somebody. Yep. You take somebody that's selling something in the reptile community and you add any kind of marketing or sales skills. People will ask me all the time, younger kids, especially at shows, will say, I'm going to college. In the future, what should I be taking? Should I be taking biology, something, one of the science? And I say, no, gosh, no. Take business every single day.
everything.
So that you're exposed to economics and marketing and sales. That's not going to make you a good salesman. It's not going to make you a good marketer, but it's going to expose you to, especially if you have that passion early and you can kind of foresee where you want to be in the community. If you're planning on opening a business and doing any sales, it'll give you that insight to different ideas and different techniques. One of the best um, sales, or I guess it's marketing, promotions I ever saw real life. I used to work at Gander Mountain, the original store, and we used to have a bin about as big as my table here, which is about 5 feet by 5 feet. This table is a little bit less than that, but big bin, and it was deep, and fishing lures, and they'd have 100 fishing lures, 10 bucks. Wouldn't sell a one. $5. Yeah, you'd see some go, some go, some go. But that bin would always be full, always be full. And then one day they started, this is just simply brilliant. One day they started and they put, back to $5, and they took them all out and left five in there. Those five sold like that. I'm going to drop five more in, gone. Five more every hour, five more, five more. Um,
Interesting.
there's so many different marketing. And I think, we talked earlier about content creation and learning as much as you can, or talking to experts in the gecko community and learning as much as you can. But I think if you're into business, and I didn't mean for me to go off on this business tangent, but if you're into
That's
business
awesome.
at all, you better start watching marketing videos and sales videos, especially marketing, because that's where you can really impact. I'm not a good salesperson at all. I'd rather have Debbie down the road, in the expo, sell one of her leopard geckos because I don't have an animal like hers, and somebody's asking for that animal. Do you have one that's high striped down the? No, I don't. But I know one. Debbie, come here, come here. Let's walk over to Debbie's table. Let me show you Debbie's table. So I'm not a good salesperson that way.
Well,
Um,
that is a talent in itself, though. That the return on that is, I mean, you're showing respect to another breeder, and hopefully that person does the same. Now, you are the person that they send to, people to when they don't have what they're looking for, So it's that common courtesy is just as good of a business asset as any other ploy is. Being a good person is as good for business as any sales tactic. At least in my eyes, it is.
if anything, I know I can go to sleep at night, and I can sleep, 8 hours. Now, I'm not going to sleep until 2:30 or 3 o'clock in the morning, but um, if you're not a good salesman, you better be a good marketer. You better be capable of putting pictures on the internet and getting people's attention and desire. You're not selling a gecko, you're selling that desire to own a specific morph or a specific color or something like that.
Sure. Speaking of business, now I know you have a corporate background. I actually, ironically enough, I have a degree in business communications. That's what I went to school for, of all
Nice.
things, business communications. But I found business to be a very manipulative.
Yes.
I guess at the time I saw the bad in it and not the good, so it put a bad
Mhm.
taste in my mouth, and I decided to go a different direction and swing a hammer for a living because I enjoy building things. But it's business isn't all bad, right? All business sales ploys are not bad. They're not all it's not all malicious intent, I mean, it is very wise of people, especially if you're out there trying to start a gecko business, to familiarize yourself with sales. Familiarize yourself with sales and business in general, and some of the basic terminology, some basic sales tactics. I mean, these are things that you should have if you want to set yourself apart from, I guess, everyone else. I don't mean to say that in like a belittling manner by any means, but we should all, I don't want to say want to be better than everyone, but we should all want our own unique individual appearance, if you will, right? Like you have to stand apart from the rest, not above, not below, but in this world or circle of reptile and gecko keepers, you should try to master your craft of sales, right? Especially if selling animals is it. You should get familiar with things. I mean, even like you deal with a lot of online sales, you deal with so many different styles of sales. I mean, maybe you would be able to do it if you didn't have your background in business in the corporate world. Maybe you would have learned, but not everybody has the experience that you have and the time that you've had to acquire these skills over all these years.
You
What
know,
are
the
some
Go ahead.
what are could you give, with the experience that you have, could you give some advice, and like what advice could you give someone, or maybe some resources or something that someone could use or maybe familiarize themselves with in this economy that we're in today with a reptile business? What's some tips you could give people to kind of separate themselves from the masses?
Well, that's two different questions, and I'm going
Yeah,
to answer the
five
first
questions.
question with learn. Yeah, it's probably five different questions. I'm going to answer the first question that I heard, and that's how do you improve your skills? And then I'm going to answer the question of differentiating yourself in today's market. Remind me if I forget the second part.
Will do.
So how do you learn fast? How do you get up to speed as quick as you possibly can? And you know the answer as good as well as I do. And that is, and Jim Stelflug, if you're not listening, I'm going to link this because when I first started doing reptile shows, I felt for me, and everybody learns different. Some people read, some people watch a video, some people have to do it.
Hands
Um,
on.
Hands on, man, and that's a lot of people. I realized early in life that some people can't learn that way. Some people can't watch a video. Some people have to read a paper, and some people have to talk to somebody else. So early on, I wanted to do reptile shows, and I felt for me the best way to do that would be to go to reptile shows. I like to go to reptile shows anyways to look at the reptiles. So I went to reptile shows and with the distinct, and I say this so much in my podcast, but I went to the reptile shows with two things in mind: find some cool geckos, but also to learn. And the best way to learn is to find somebody that's doing it the right way. So, I probably did 4 or 5 reptile shows just walking around and watching and spying. And eventually, after about 3 reptile shows, I found somebody, Jim Stolflug, that was doing it really, really well. Why was he doing it well? Well, he was talking to people, but he wasn't blabbing. I feel like I blab too much a lot at reptile shows, but he wasn't blabbing. He was getting to the point and he was selling like I wanted to sell, not, hey, buy the snake. Um, he was talking with passion about the animals and leading the person on a process, on a step by step. And I felt that's what I want to do. So, mental note, mental note. I like Joey's display here. So,
Modeling. They
you
call this
you
modeling, but yes, this is yeah,
yes,
love it.
yes, exactly. So I would take pictures. I like this person's way that they did a table skirt. Okay, so I'm going to take their business card and I'm going to write table skirt, and I'm going to take a picture, including their reptile sign, their business sign. So that was probably another couple, 3 months of just planning and researching and then building and preparing and maybe over, analytical, but it made me feel comfortable walking into that first reptile show, even though I probably wasn't that good, but walking into that first reptile show, feeling fairly comfortable with being able to talk to the community and sell animals, show them off, number one, and healthy animals, and then sell animals. So I think that's one of the easiest ways to ingrain yourself into learning as much about, the process of selling an animal. Model, like you said, find somebody and ask them questions. Eventually I walked up to Jim and said, I had questions for him, and he was so nice and answered everything. And I did that at the end of the show while he was tearing down. But ask them questions and just, bend their ear and learn as much as you possibly can. And then go on and if you want to read or if you want to watch videos or however to supplement that knowledge that you're gaining and build. I feel right now we've done hundreds and hundreds of reptile shows, and I feel like we're still in the learning process, and we're adding and we're changing every single reptile show. We and this is honest, Anthony, we from day one until now, at the end of every single reptile show, I don't do them by myself anymore. I just can't, because I just can't. And so I have my wife Nanette or a son or somebody with us. So at the end of every single show, the very first question in the car is, hey, how much money did we make? No, it's not. No, it's not. That's does never come up. The first question is, what can we do better the next
Love that.
show?
I love that.
Um, ev- I can't tell you how honest I am. Every single show is that way. What can we do better? And if the answer is I guess I kind of don't know, then I'm the non-talkative partner during the trip home because I'm spinning and spinning and spinning. Um, so I think that's a good way to get introduced into the business world of selling reptiles. Um, how to make yourself different. Do something different. What do you, if you didn't know anything about Wally Kern and you went to any RBC in Chicago and you're looking through the crowd, how would you see me from 2 aisles away?
Me, the orange, the hat.
Yes, the hat. So do something different. So I get people all the time stopping by and saying, "Oh, I watch your videos." And I say, sorry, I wish I could do better. Um, but they recognize the hat. And I literally have watched people in an aisle and look up at the hat and look at me and it's like, it's Wally, which is super cool. It's fun and it personalizes. So make yourself different with
An image,
something.
yeah, yeah. An image
So
is a face, the face of a business. I mean, that's very, very true. It's very true.
you're just real quick, you're a fisherman. You might know Bill Dance from Tennessee with the big T hat.
Grew up
That,
watching. I'm sure I have.
there you go. So, but if you don't have something, wear something logo so people know you, or maybe best way to differentiate yourself is to do something different. Like, when I was starting, I was the person selling red crested geckos for years and years. Oh, you sell the nice red crested geckos. Now, people like yourself have passed me by far, and I'm no longer the red crested gecko person anymore.
I still think
But
you are, though.
uh, but find something that you can find an animal, maybe a Nephurus melii, and you're the best Nephurus melii or viper gecko breeder around. And you might do some crested geckos, and you might do this, and then but boy, oh boy, people know you because, oh my gosh, your viper geckos are so cool.
Mm. Well, it's in. I want to say that works for. I mean, it works. It's brilliant advice, and I mean, I agree 100%. But what if someone's doesn't vend? What if they only do online sales? What if, I mean, I guess it would still apply, right? Because then you'd have a logo and a face on an Instagram page or a website. I mean, that's pretty much you could apply that to any facet of business in today's economy, really, right? Like Instagram, your TikToks, your morph market. I mean, you want to be associated by something or with something. So I think how important do you think a logo is? Or
Very,
what do you think about business logos?
very important, extremely important. As important as your business name. I didn't come up with Supreme Gecko for months and months. I think people that jump on a name. Oh, I'm going to throw out a hot button of mine. Um, Jimmy's Crusted Geckos. It doesn't do anything for me at all. So what? There's a million Crusted Gecko people out there. New Hampshire Crusted Geckos. Okay, so you're local, and I'm local, so that's cool. I'm in California. I don't care about New Hampshire Crusted Geckos at all. So I think that a name and I think a logo that represents that is super important. Now, a name. Think about it, and I think that where I fall down a little bit is that I started doing fish and I did chameleons for a while uh, and I did isopods, supreme isopods. I tried that. It didn't work. Supreme exotics. I was that close to changing over to supreme exotics, but I just didn't want to because Supreme Gecko was out there for 20 some years. So, and to change a business name, oh my gosh, you better have the best reason in the world to change your business name. So think. Ask your friends, ask your family, ask anybody that you can. Post it on social media. What does everybody think of when they think of Supreme Gecko? So obviously, I did geckos, and I wanted people to feel quality when they heard Supreme Gecko. So I think that that's very important. And anybody can do logos now. Again, back 20 some years ago, not many people were doing graphic design. So it was hard to come up with an initial
Technology is
logo.
definitely easier.
Yeah. And for mine, just real quick, I wanted, the visual,
I
and then
love it.
I wanted Supreme Gecko, but that's kind of hard to read unless you're kind of unless you're
No, but
close. But
it's
ESG with the gecko on top, I don't know if it's corny. I
perfect.
don't know if it works,
It's
but it's
perfect.
now recognizable. Maybe it's terrible. Maybe this is a terrible design, but now it's recognizable.
It's not
I
too busy. It's not too simple. It's literally a perfect. And when I people ask me, I always tell people something like that, something that's to the point, something people can remember, but yet something that catches someone's eye and is instantly recognizable. You don't want crazy scenes like people try to make their logo a whole scenery of something. It's like tone it down. Like I get it. I respect the the idea. I respect your what you're trying to do, but when you got to think of all the aspects of business when it comes to branding stuff. I mean, business cards, the way though that logo, transfers to paper, to stickers, to everything, to a banner. There's so much you have to almost simplify it more. It's you have that. You have like the perfect, instantly recognizable, to the point, says the name, and pretty much lets people know what you're doing. It's boom, perfect.
I think there's a lot of really, really, really good logo business names out there, and
Oh,
it frustrates me
brilliant
to
ones.
see. Yeah, yeah. But it frustrates me to see a logo that's in cursive and it's white lettering, small white lettering on a background of 4 or 6 geckos. And are those gecko? I can't tell if those are geckos because it's kind of cartoonish, and I certainly can't read the name.
It's the
Swipe
truth.
left, swipe
It's the
left,
truth.
go, move, let's go. I don't care.
Truth. And you want, just because I'm saying simple doesn't mean that you cannot be unique. You can be very unique and explain yourself, what you do, and everything just in a simpler way. I'm I definitely, again, wouldn't want to tell anyone to not do something they enjoy. If you have a logo and you love it, then God bless your soul. Rock out, please do. But when you're trying to hop into a thriving, established market and you want to separate yourselves from the masses, don't add confusion. Don't confuse the
Yes.
people. But hey, how do you
I
feel about AI in business today? How do you have you used it? Do you
uh,
think that people can use it? What are your opinions on AI and reptile business, and maybe
I
some
use
ways
it.
people could use it?
Yeah, yeah. I use it. Most of what I do with AI is not, I've tried the write me 10 scripts for videos concerning crested geckos, looking at the, top YouTube videos out there right now, and and give me the titles and change the titles to be unique. I've used AI for that and I just don't like it. I don't like it
Really?
because it doesn't feel personal. Um, so I like to create that myself, and I probably have created more bad ones than good ones, but at least it feels right for me. What AI can do really well is you can take an idea and say, make it better. Okay, here's my and problem solving. Never come up to me and say, hey, I've got a problem. How can I fix it? Rather, come up to me and say, I have a problem, and here's 2 different options that I'm thinking about doing. This one and this one. Here's the pluses, here's the minuses. Can you give me some feedback? Sure, I think you're right on with option A. Just make sure that you think about. So I kind of treat it that way. AI, here's my concept, here's my thoughts. Um, how does that look grammatically? Blah blah blah. And how can I add this to be more, how can I change it to be more um, personal? How can I change it to be more fun? I don't know. So I think you need to use it that way. Come up with the idea, have AI help you refine your idea. I think
I
it's going to
don't
be
use it
huge in
myself.
the future,
I'm
though.
not technology, like I said earlier. I'm not very technology savvy, but I have talked to some people that have been apparently, allegedly, doing some amazing things with AI. I've talked to some people that have tossed business names around with idea and even logos. So if you're gifted enough and you have the AI skill is on your clipboard of talents, That's another way people could probably, come up with at least some options, right? Say I like options, and if AI helps
Yep.
give you options, then that would be pretty damn cool.
A
Are you
shameless
still
plug, just a real quick, a shameless plug. About 2 years ago, I did an AI video um,
really?
regarding business and how to use AI. And I think it was as, informative and important as it is right now. I
Good.
don't I don't think
I don't
it's
know if I've
aged at
seen that
all.
one.
Yeah, it's an old one, and I did it because I felt like it could help some people, not the whole community. And I try to strive for videos that are really focused to help, somebody very niched down, somebody that's keeping white line geckos. And I
Hmm.
know that that's not a popular. I don't care. I'm going to make a video, and I'm going to show, and I'm going to educate, and maybe I'll help 10 people. That's cool. So I did this with that intent that maybe, and I walked through probably 10 or 12 different things that you can do with AI. So I'm hoping that people have used it to maybe help them refine some of those ideas.
That's awesome. I didn't know you made that. Guys, again, if you have questions about anything, I mean, if there is a topic involved in the gecko world, there is quite literally, Wally has quite literally done a video on it. Go over to Supreme Gecko's YouTube page. And I mean, this is like when I have questions to this day, and like Wally had mentioned, I'm not one to complain. I'm not one to ask questions until I have researched the topic at hand as far as I can. Supreme Gecko's YouTube page is literally on the list of my top 3 places I stop when I have a question and I'm out looking for something. I'm looking for answers and I'm in the thick of it and I want answers. I'm always going to check Wally's his YouTube page is always on the list of places I go as a resource. It is literally a resource of information for all things, basically any gecko species you could think of, really, but in business and reptile business, lots of it on there. Are
The
you
only thing
still
I don't
doing your
cover is how
consulting?
to make your YouTube channel more popular so you get more subscribers. I'm not really good at that.
Yeah, well, I mean, you do a good job of it. You got a big following. Are you
Thanks.
still doing your consulting? If people have questions, like, and maybe they're, I know you were doing the consulting thing. Are you still offering that? Awesome, guys. If you have questions,
Yes.
Wally does a consulting, like part of his Supreme business, his umbrella, is he offers consulting for like time slot. Like you can contact Wally and have a one-on-one conversation with him. 25 years of reptile business experience, guys. 25 years. The lows, the highs, the everything in between. He's lived through it all. You quite
I
literally cannot. I mean, there's probably some people out there that have similar experiences. Wally is more than willing to share his with you, though. Like
yes.
it's another great resource for someone that may be starting out or maybe seasoned breeders. If you just want an experienced peer
Yes.
to kick ideas around with, sign up for one of Wally's consultation and mentor programs, man. It's a great resource. It's an awesome uh it's just awesome. It's an awesome tool. It's a tool. It's a tool to have in your toolbox. You don't have to call Wally every week, but you guys can set up a call once a month, and he'll help you walk through your business. And I mean, again, he has a corporate background. I mean, use it, guys. Use it. And they can
I
they can. How would they contact you to schedule one of your consultation services? You do that on your YouTube page or your website or your Instagram. What would be the best way for someone to reach out to you in regards to that?
Sure. You can contact me on Facebook at Wally Kern. You can contact me on YouTube. In one of the comments, you can contact me on Instagram. I'm available all over the place. You can contact me at Supreme Gecko.
There you go.
The page is actually, I'll explain this just really super quick. It's a Buy Me a Coffee membership. And you can go to Buy Me a Coffee Supreme Gecko and you can select your consultation there. A 10-minute,
That's
a
where it
quick
is.
answer, a half hour, an hour. And the half hour is like $10. But there's no way I have ever done a half hour in a half hour. It's always been an hour. I think there was one that I went 2.5 hours with a half hour
That's
consultation
awesome.
because we were talking about business and reptile shows. And,
Sure,
again, I
that
can
you know
help
how
with reptile
priceless that
shows.
is? That's priceless, Wally. You go to shows all over. I mean, you've been doing shows for so long. I mean, for anyone that's just getting into it, I mean, you should want to talk to someone like this. This is who you talk to. He will literally, he's not going to steer you wrong. I give you my word, Wally's not going to steer you wrong. He's going to tell you how to avoid every mistake he's made. I mean, this is
And I've
like,
made
it
a
is a
lot of
gift.
them.
It's a gift, man. That's a gift for us to have this as a resource. This man as a resource.
I appreciate that. I've talked
Us,
in these consultations from pairing geckos to I actually did one on pricing, to setting up an LLC for your business, to
I've seen
selling at
those.
shows, to shipping animals. Oh my gosh. But I tell you what, Anthony, I have as much fun with these consultations as
I bet.
hopefully as the viewers do.
I bet. Have you? I don't want. Again, I'm not trying to be negative, and I don't want to talk about anything
No, you're
negative.
fine.
But have you seen some of these? And I've seen more lately than I like to admit seeing, but some of these shipping mishaps on social media where people are posting these how animal people are putting animals in boxes and deli cups with no holes and like literally homemade boxes, taking chewy boxes and taping them together and just shipping them. I mean,
My favorite shipping mishap was somebody selling a reptile and the enclosure,
the glass
putting the
tank one,
reptile
right?
in the glass tank and shipping the glass tank wrapped with like a wrapping paper or something like that. And it was all broken. I can't remember, Anthony, how what happened with the animal, but oh my gosh, who thinks about that? So one of my very first experiences, our kids started working with bearded dragons. I worked with bearded dragons, our kids, and I think we had two pair from a local pet store. We're making bazillions of dollars selling baby, and that stopped
That
real
is
quick.
work.
It just
That is work.
that's
Breeding
work.
bearded
That was
dragons is
work.
work.
But we're at the top of this business game, so let's buy two pair from this guy. And he sent them, and Anthony, they were in big tube socks. These adult bearded dragons came in tube socks. Honest, honest to goodness. And I tell you what, one was missing a tail, one was missing a leg. It was horrific experience.
Oh
And
my
I
god.
luckily I was able to unpack them before the kids could see stuff like that. But anyways, we're going to have issues with like that, but I think we as a community are getting better. We're realizing that, in inclement weather, we need to use styrofoam. Need to pack with heat packs and cold packs. We need to do, and I think we're getting better and better. I've
Sure.
certainly improved our shipping process in
Sure.
this last year, and I'm learning as we go as well. Even though we ship for 20 some years, I feel like every shipment that we do is an opportunity to learn something, hopefully, and
Sure.
on the rare occasion that we have something, fire brats, I didn't know how to
Mhm.
ship fire brats a year and a half ago, and we started shipping fire brats, and we had one shipment where I put a little bit too much water crystals in, and it killed the whole group. Well, I learned, and I think we all have to do that. Shipping companies. There was a video that was done recently with Darian and not Redline. Ship Your Reptiles. I'm sorry, Chad Brown. And they talked in a very, 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 very positive way about the changes in the shipping companies and the processes. So I think we as a community, we need to stay on top of that, and we need to talk to each other. And oh my gosh, yeah, again, I mentioned before, I've had at least two or three conversations on our consultations with how to ship animals, and here's some best practices. And one
That was
tip that
my
I would give
point.
every
Is I
yeah,
wanted people to know that there's no excuse in today's world. You could reach out to Wally and he'll teach you how to
anybody.
ship any reptile there is in any process that's available to us, to ship. Wally will walk you through it, man. There's no excuses to be doing things like that today when there's people like this that are willing to help.
And if I can't contact Redline or Ship Your Reptiles or Morph Market or one of these other brands, there's probably five or six I'm forgetting. Unfortunately, I'm sorry. Contact them and say, "Hey, I'm doing this for the first time," and their customer service will jump on that and they'll walk you through the process. There's so many more reliable services nowadays. Contact me first if you want to, but if you don't, then contact one of these
It's
other services.
videos. I'm sure you've got somewhere on there, you've got a video on how to pack and ship reptiles, right? Like,
I
see,
think
there
we
you
have
go.
free
Anybody,
videos.
it's so easy to find that it's almost, it hurts my heart that people are still doing some of the things they do because it's so easy to find the right way. Like, I hate shipping animals, and I've never had an issue. I've never had, thank God, I've never had an issue. It drives me nuts, Wally. I hate it. I'm like always racing the clock to beat the last drop off so my animal's in the box, the shortest amount of time possible. And I'm demanding the person to pick the gecko up by 9:30. I'm like I'm like a shipping Nazi. Like, I cannot just like I'm again. It's, you don't have to be as weird as me about it. Trust me. I just have like
Yeah.
these weird attachments to these animals I create. But
So
again,
doing it both ways for
here,
so many years, I'll tell you the story that we will get some people that will walk through the process every hour. Are you shipping the animal? Are you shipping today? What time today? And 100 different emails. That's fine. I've been there when I started. I had the same concerns when I started. I understand your concerns. Let me calm you through this whole process. And we'll say over and over in emails or conversations, here's our process. This is what we're going to do, and this is what you can expect. And if there are any issues, here's what you can do. So we'll walk through that whole process. Here's your tracking information here. Um, but then we'll also get the person that, puts in the order for an animal, and then we go to them and say, "Hey, we need your FedEx hub. We've looked it up. Here's what we think is the closest. Can you confirm?" Yes. And then nothing, even after they receive the animals, we don't hear anything back from them at all. And that's far harder for us, as a as a business and shipping animals. That's far harder than having somebody message 20 or 30 times. It absolutely is.
makes sense. But it's, listen, hey, listen. I hope we see less of it. It's again, it's a shame with all the information that's out there, but you did your part, right? You made your videos. You've offered the information. Again, like I said, with everything. I mean, I'm like trying to run things through my head. Like, what has Wally not shared? Like, what information in the reptile world he's not shared? He's shared videos on vending. You've shared videos on marketing. You've shared videos on the current market. You're brilliant with statistics and spreadsheets and everything else. I mean, I think that's also another gift. Um,
Here's one thing that I don't share. And again, I'm being honest and transparent with what I'm not honest and transparent with. Does that make sense? Um,
does absolutely.
I'm I don't share bad experiences with other gecko keepers. Um, like I said at the very beginning of the show, share publicly the positive and address individually the negative. I've had through 25 years, you're going to have bad experiences. I'm not saying that maybe some of them weren't my fault or some of them were their fault or whatever. You're going to have differences with people, and I like to handle those differences in a private manner so that we both understand where each other is coming from. That's so important. Oh, I didn't understand that's what you were doing. Now that I understand, that makes sense. Sorry for the miscommunication. Sorry for the misunderstanding. But I've had time and time and time and time and time again a bad shipment. Um, the bearded dragons is just one. I had a shipment in the winter where the person didn't use um, a heat pack whatsoever, nor insulated box, and it was about $1,000 of rare animals, and they were all dead. And big breeder, back and forth. Oh, I'll send out these males and female cave geckos, and they came in all males. And I just moved on. I don't share stuff like that, and I
Well, I get your
struggle
reason, and that's the noble thing to do.
internally. I struggle with that because I don't want somebody else to be in the same position as I was. But I feel like if I do share, I feel like I'm kind of tattling
I would
or
do the same thing,
making
Wally.
bad
That's the
waves.
noble way to do it. You
I
correct
don't know if
them,
it's
you
right or
address
wrong.
them, but you don't publicly necessarily want to take food out of another man's mouth, right? Maybe they're feeding their kids. Maybe they just don't know. Maybe, there's a million reasons. What you do is you address that person. You don't make these public posts and announcements like, look what so and so did. I mean, that's maybe we're older. I just don't get it. When people do that, I'm like, Did you make an attempt to even address the issue? Did you make an attempt to ask the person if they even knew what they were doing? I mean, there's so many other steps you could have taken before you're like, look what so and so did, look what such and such did. It's like you're feeding the negativity fire. It's just ugly to me. It's an ugly thing to do. It's
Here's 15 pages of screenshots of our
yeah.
conversation that
I don't see the yeah. It's messy. It's a messy look. Now I'm not saying I wish anyone to be in that situation either or.
no,
It's
no.
just again, when your business is predominantly, when you're predominantly an online business and image, you want your image. I mean, it doesn't look good for either way. Like, I don't want to, if I'm doing business and I'm a huge consumer, I'm open about that. I buy. I'm not buying nothing from either sides. I don't care if you're the victim or you're the
Yeah,
one. I don't want anything to do with either of you. You know, like, keep me
yes.
out of it.
I'm confused. Who's right? Who's wrong? I don't care. I don't have the
Oh,
time. I'll move on past both of you.
no,
Yes.
no.
Yes, a
I just
1000%.
too many other people doing openly doing good things that I just stay out of
Yes.
the drama. Now, I hate to keep asking questions about sales, but I don't know anybody that has the experience that you have. You have been
Funny.
arguably around reptiles from the inception of shows to today's modern world with all of these online platforms, your Morph Markets, your Palm Streets, your. Do you feel that much changes? Do you feel that someone has to do any one thing more or less to be successful at just online sales versus a show, other than the obvious, but is there something, what advice would you give someone? Do you have, from experiencing it all, what advice would you give someone that's just an online brand?
Yes. So somebody that's not doing shows whatsoever, if somebody came to me and they have and said, I'm not really a show person, yeah, it's pretty important. You probably want to do that to get exposure
Sure.
locally, and move some animals
Sure.
locally. But if somebody said, not for me, I'm not going to do it. Not going to do it, Wally. Help me understand online. Now the problem is, again, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, you had to have a website. You want to sell some animals, you better have a website. You better have a store. You better have a cart. You better have a checkout process. You better have customers. You better have a contact email. Blah 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 blah. You don't have to have that anymore. Why not? Why don't you have to have a store? Why don't you have to have all this? Because you have things like Etsy, which is probably the least best place to sell things, in my opinion. um, you have things like Fauna Classified, which is still going strong. You have things like Morph Market. You have things like, um, I'll, again, transparency, Anthony. All of our top animals never ever make it to a show. They never make it to Morph Market. 90% of the animals that we sell higher end, I'm going to say, never make it to our store, our Supreme Geckos. I have a store. I pay, so much money a month for that store. Those top animals never make it there. Why? Well, because I have a wish list. Because I'll post on Instagram and TikTok, and maybe I'll dance a little bit, and I'll show some of the animals that we're breeding and some of the animals that are hatching out. And oh, I collected these eggs today, and hardly ever do I not get a response of, oh, you have Odura monoliths? I didn't know that. When will you have some available? So I can't keep, you know, 5 minutes ago straight in my mind anymore. I just can't. There's just too many things that I'm thinking about the facility. I'm thinking about all kinds of other things. Um, Maybe sometimes I'm even thinking about Nanette, but I can't keep all this stuff straight anymore. I can't. So I developed a wish list on Facebook. So what I say to people, and I also have our Buy Me a Coffee where things are introduced first. If I have something special, it goes to our members in our Buy Me a Coffee program. But after that, I have this wish list that's filled with people saying, I'm looking for XXXXX. So when I have a new animal come available, let's say, in the first Levis Levis. I'll go to that wish. I'll go to Buy Me a Coffee first. Hey, anybody interested? Maybe a discount. Then I'll bring it over to our wish list. and I'll go through the wish list, and the very first, in order, I'll go from first to last of people that say I'm looking for Nephurus levis levis, and I'll email them, and I'll say, or message them on Facebook, and I'll say, no worries either way. Just wanted to let you know we have these available. Let me know as soon as possible if you're still interested. So, to get back to the main part of this is you can have a store, you can have all these other things going on, but really online, you don't have to have a web page or a store anymore with a cart and checkout process and all of that. You really don't. We do because it makes it easier for somebody to go, I want Supreme Isopod Chow, click, 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 click. I don't have to talk to Wally anymore. God help me if I have to talk to Wally one more time. So they can check out real quick without, all this hubbub of click, 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 and they're done. But for, yeah, again, rare animals, we're selling them in a different manner than, a store and morph market and so on and so forth.
Is that hard to set up? Is it hard for, like, for someone that wanted to, maybe do the same thing you're doing and do the wish list thing?
It,
Is that hard?
no, it's as simple as possible. If anybody wants to see it, go out to Supreme Gecko on Facebook, the Supreme Gecko business page, and the very first post is 2025 wish list, and you'll see all the people that have asked for something. Now, there might be some names out there from 2 or 3 years ago looking for some of the rarer geckos that maybe I've held back a year or two, and I haven't released any until maybe this year or next year. You'll see some names like that, but you'll see some current names as well for like Coleonyx, the banded geckos that I'm going to have in probably a week or two. And I'll go through that, buy me a coffee, members first, and then I'll go to my wish list. But it's as simple as a post on a business page. And to set up
Okay.
a business page takes somebody, let me know if you have any questions. Will take somebody an hour at the very most to set up,
And
at
it's
the very
free,
most.
right? Very little
And it's
overhead to do
free.
that.
And it's free. Morph Market is actually free. You can get a limited
Sure.
plan on Morph Market, post your animals on Morph Market. Yeah, that's probably the easiest way to go. And that probably doesn't take but at the most an hour to set up an account and post some animals. Take a couple of pictures.
Hmm.
You had asked tips. That's one. You don't need a store anymore. You don't need a website and stuff like that. Use Facebook, and
Well, I
you
kind of
can't
can't,
sell on
like, you
Facebook.
sound like you're far away again. Is there any way you can turn your volume up a little bit?
Sure. Does that help if I
Yeah,
talk a
yeah, there
little?
you go. You sound like you were going
Okay.
in and
Okay.
out. That much better. Much better. Sorry
Sorry
about that.
about that. Um, so another tip I would give people is you can't sell on Facebook, but you can certainly promote on Facebook. So don't
Exactly.
say I have this for sale.
Sparking
Don't
interest.
say, come to me if you're looking for. But what's way better, and my gosh, I get this all the time, is I'll post a picture and say something like, oh, these just hatched. And then I'll get replies off of that. And people ask if I have any available. So use social media in a good, non selling, promotional manner. I can't, say it any more clear than that.
Yeah, very, very, very valid points. Valid points. I mean, I don't know what your finances are within, investing in ads or whatnot, but you have a very strong online presence, right? Like, you have an incredible, it's a very professional online presence. It's and not to take anything from you by any means. God knows you've put in the work. It doesn't seem as if it's unobtainable to people, right? Like, you do it in a way that makes people, I feel that if someone wanted to do the work, right? Like, granted, it is going to take you work, but someone
Yes.
can do the same thing that you're doing. It's not impossible, right? Like, it's not going to happen overnight, guys. You're not going to build the following that Wally has overnight. You're not going to be able to buy all your drop cloths for your shows and all your merch and all that, but you can in time, right? It's something that's it's absolutely obtainable, right?
1,000% agree with that. Number one, I think that what you need to do is determine, and again, find a mentor, find a model first, somebody that's doing it the right
Supreme
way.
Geckos is a good one if you guys are looking for a model.
Appreciate it. Um, find out what they're doing, flip it, copy them. copy them. What are they doing? They're posting every flipping day. Well, you better be posting every single day. Oh, that's a lot of work. No, it's not. I'll guarantee every single person watching this video is going to be a better photographer than I am. 100,000% agree with that. I hate it. I hate it with a passion. Hate taking pictures. You're going to be better at taking pictures. So start taking pictures of your animals and simply post them and simply put a nice, attractive, um, conversation opening kind of comment on that. Um, Here's a picture of my crested gecko. Should I keep working with this line? And then you're going to get comments. Engage, 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 and talk to people and build up that. Don't just say thank you. Sure, heart, like, thumbs up. Stop
See, that's
doing
so
that. Stop
valuable
doing
though.
the thumbs up.
That little
I
piece
do
of
it.
advice is so loaded, because so many times people take a picture, and even if it's a good picture, there's nothing underneath it but hashtags, right? Like people aren't engaging people, you're just getting a thumbs up. I mean, are you trying to sell that animal, or is that a line you're working on? Did you buy that animal from someone? Like, that's such good advice, right? Like with the comment or the caption on the picture. That's brilliant advice. People should, they really need to act on that.
And then go the other way. When I talk about engaging, answer people on YouTube. I promote a lot that if you leave a comment on one of my videos, I will answer you back in a day. Now, during 12 Supreme Days of Christmas, I'm sometimes a little bit later than that, but I'll try to get every single, if we're on vacation, which happens once every 5 years, um, I'll try to get back to that comment within a day, at least within a day.
That's the
Um,
truth,
but
man. That's
but
the
on the
truth.
other
That's what maybe
hand,
attracted me to you to begin with when you started. I mean, that was like, this giant gecko guy answered me. He answered me. He responded to me.
it's easy for me because I like doing that. It might not be easy for somebody else because maybe they don't like doing that, but you kind of should. On the other side, though, when I talk about engagement, Anthony posts something, and I apologize if I'm just putting a thumbs up or a little heart, but 9 times out of 10, I'll try to engage and I'll try to say something about the
Sure,
picture. Oh my gosh, when did you get these geckos? That's pretty cool.
sure,
Or something like that. Engage and let people know that you're out there, and it's more awareness than selling, I really think. And then eventually you're going to have an animal that's worthy of selling, and post it and make a pretty picture, and all of that work that you've done beforehand with the engagement, that's going to come right back to you.
for sure. Now we're talking about pictures and photography. Do
I don't want to. Can we
I
not
know,
talk
right?
about pictures and
Listen.
photography?
Well, I went and bought a $2,500 camera that's been in the same spot since the day I bought it. I use my phone, man. I got an iPhone, just whether iPhone or Android, whatever. I'm tech illiterate, so I use an iPhone. There you go. See, it, do you think that it works? Do you think that is
Yes.
it doable? Can people just use a cell phone? Can people? What are some advice? What's some advice you have for someone that may not enjoy taking pictures like yourself and posting pictures? What advice would you give them? Just take a picture, post it. I mean,
I have a thousand. I don't have a $2,500 camera, but I have $1,000 camera. Hold on, it's under the desk here somewhere. Let me see if I can find it.
listen. I wish I bought a freaking disposable as much as I use that damn thing.
A little Polaroid, maybe. Um, no, 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 no. Use your iPhone. Use your phone. Oh my gosh. So if you're doing that though, nobody wants to see a video like this. Okay, see, here's the gecko, and I'm taking a video. And let me see if I people want to see nice, clear, crisp. So two things that you want to do, and this is super cheap. It's not that you can go out and spend $50 and it'll be sufficient. Buy a good tripod, or just give me a call and I'll give you one of my 123 that I've purchased over the last 2 years. Buy a good tripod. You can find a good tripod for $25. If you have a question, let me know and I'll point you on Amazon to the tripod. Buy a halfway decent light, and it doesn't have to be one of those $600 lights. It can be a 25 to something, or stand in front of the window, or find a desk lamp or something to give you a little bit of light, because the nicer the light, your phone should be able to adjust to that light and compensate. If you use a tripod, position the tripod, and you won't get what I find sometimes with my old age. I now have the shakes. You won't have that shaky video, shaky picture. It'll be nice, crisp. So tripod, nice, like $50. Challenge me. I'll find you a setup for $50. Anybody watching this?
I bet. I bought one of those. You ever see those light boxes? Like a photo box, I guess it is. I've still never used it. I've had it for five
I
years. I've never used it. But I got that thing for like $20. It's got an LED built into it. It's like a white box, and you could drop different colored backgrounds into the back of it. I again never used it. But they are. It is easy enough to, it's definitely obtainable. And that was one of my other questions too. Is that I was going to get to with when it comes to what would someone that doesn't like a kid maybe that doesn't have money, and you kind of answered it though. You don't really need a light box or maybe even a fancy light. You can use a window or your phone versus a camera. If someone didn't have money and they wanted to vend a show, what if would you tell someone to hold off until they have the money to buy proper drapery? Would you tell so what advice would you give someone that maybe didn't have money but they had the animals and they just wanted to start?
Yep. Find some way to get about $20 or $30 and have some really nice business cards made. And you'll find 100 different examples. Again, contact me and I'll take a picture of our business card. What you want is a nice, crisp. Your business card is so important at reptile shows, because the problem is you're going to have 5,000, because 4,000 will go to 8-year-olds that are picking up every single business card at the reptile show and they'll never use it, and that's fine. That I did the same thing at baseball card shows when I was a kid. But get a good business card printed with your name, your address, or even city state. We just put city state, and then a picture, your logo, if you could, or a picture of a pretty gecko, and put where they can contact you. We have wallyKern@gmail.com. On the back, we have our QR code. And you don't have to do this, but it's so easy to do nowadays. Put a QR code so somebody can go like this,
How do you
click.
get that though? How do you get like a QR code assigned to you? How do you?
Easy peasy. Go
Is
to
it really?
canva.com and go QR code. And it'll bring up, templates that you can then take and put your store or your Facebook page
Really?
or your Morph Market link or your bio link, which would have all of them, which we've done. We've got all of our links, including YouTube, in our bio link.
Okay. And none of those
Easy
will be,
peasy.
they can guarantee that it's not going to be the same QR code as someone else's or something?
Right on.
Really?
Yep.
That's amazing. I always wondered. I always wonder when I see people that have them on stuff, I'm like, how does that work? Like, I never knew. But I take pictures of them all the time and they work. Like, everything will pop up on my phone. Like, just take a picture of the QR code. Boom, it's done. I mean, it's brilliant how easy it is, but I never knew how someone would set that up or get that. That's interesting.
We have it on our business card, and I can kind of track through that with BioLink how many people are clicking on that QR code. I have signs on our reptile table at reptile shows, our table, saying scan this for the YouTube channel, scan this for the Supreme Gecko store, scan this
That's
for
damn
more information.
cool.
Nobody scans. Nobody will take
Really?
out the phone and go, okay, let me go ahead and scan that. Nobody. I bet you it's been
Really?
4 or 5 months since somebody scanned something like that. But I know that they're scanning off of the business cards. So
Hmm.
back to your point about, can you do this without spending any money? You kind of can. If you don't have business cards, write the flipping information down on a index card. Sell some animals, and every single penny you make then goes right back into what you're doing. If you make $100, spend $50 on
Back
a
to your business.
business cards, and spend $25 on a tablecloth, and spend another $25 on a cheapo sign that you can hang up so people see you when they come in. Then you make another $100. Then take that $100 and maybe buy something more. Buy new lighting. Buy a couple of really nice lights for your table. You spend another, or you sell another $100, and then take that and maybe buy a nice display, one nice display, and keep doing that for probably
Put your
about
money back into your business, man.
right
Invest
back
in
into it.
yourself. Invest in
Every
yourselves.
time for probably 4 or 5 shows, and then maybe you can start looking at other animals. Oh, I could buy this and make more money. And it's all, again, I don't want to stress money thing, but from a business standpoint, you have to be thinking of stuff like
Sure.
that.
Sure. It's a good segue into my next question, though. How do you feel about the reptile market right now? What predictions for someone that's witnessed and lived through just about everything the market could possibly do? How do you feel? How do you feel about the future of the reptile market in general? What do you think?
Yeah, that's a really, really, really good question. I can answer it with 2 words: social media. Um, I talked before about, 10 years ago, you had to have a store, you had to have a web page, you had to have this, you had to have that. Um, Even if you were doing reptile shows, um, I see potentially. We went through this 4 or 5 years ago with COVID, where we were all at home and nobody's going anywhere. So, okay, what's the solution? How do I buy animals? Well, who stepped up at that time? Morph Market stepped up at that time and started developing and building and going through the process of making that whole buying process easier and less painful. Um, how did that impact the market? Well, I think that it probably took a hit in reptile shows. I know that about that time, a couple of companies were looking at online reptile shows, and they unfortunately failed miserably. Miserably. I remember too being at 2 online reptile shows, and it was chaos and it was hard.
Really?
Until about a year ago. Well, they were doing it long before. You know where I'm going with this. They were doing it long before a year ago with plants, but Palm Street introduced the auctions for reptiles, which made it. And we talk about reptile shows. We talk about an online presence, but you can go through Palm Street now and sell animals. And there's a little bit of a fee. But oh my gosh, you don't have to have a website. You don't have to drive your car somewhere. Do it all on Palm Street. Hey, here's an animal. Take a look at it. Let's start the bidding at $20. Um, so you can go through Palm Street. So I think that I don't know, reptile shows. Are they going to be here in 5 years? I don't know. I don't know. Palm Street, is it going to be here in 5 years? Yes.
I think
Yes. Our
so.
website's going to be as valuable in 5 years? No, no, absolutely not. I think that's the progression. The progression is we saw, how many years ago Facebook introduced, and then Instagram, and then YouTube before, but people spending an hour watching a video. People now don't want to spend 10 minutes watching a Video. 5 seconds. I've got 5 seconds. TikTok. Let's go. Swipe left. 5 seconds. Swipe left. So
Sad.
people want it easier, faster, stronger. Isn't that a Kanye West song? People want it quick. I want what I want, and I want it right now. So I think that that's the direction. And Palm Street, you can be on an auction for anywhere from 10 minutes to an hour, and you can buy one animal or you can buy 20 animals. And I'm
Sure.
not here to promote Palm Street, although I think it's a good application. I think it's well worth people investing some time. Go on Palm Street, look up one of your favorite reptile breeders. I keep promoting, but Altitude and Flawless have a show coming up in the next few weeks, I think. Go and watch and learn and see what they're doing. I watched probably a dozen different shows before we started. We did we did 2 tests actually, and then finally did
Watch
our
one of yours.
first
You guys
show.
did good. I felt that you would too. When I caught wind of it and what people were doing, because I had always just assumed that it was just auctions, right, and not sales in general. I knew you were one of the first people that popped into my mind. I was like, this is going to be great for Wally. Like, Wally's going to do amazing with this platform.
It was fun to do things a little different on Palm Street with rare geckos and Periodorpicta and things that were not just crusted geckos. That was the fun part for me, is to be able to expose people to different animals.
Exactly.
Um, but again, I think, if I look at a direction, I think that that's what the direction is. I think that before Palm Street, I'll say this unequivocally, that the market was down. The market was tanking a little bit there.
Palm Street,
He
Palm Street
says Palm Street brought it back up because, oh
woke
my
it from the
gosh,
dead. Literally, literally.
I think
Well,
it gave
listen,
it. I think it gave the market a
if you wanted
really,
to
really
buy
good
an
boost.
animal from someone, like, and your only source of buying these animals was, say, either, could be morph market, but morph market can be tricky. You don't always get responses. There's a middleman. You got to wait for the system to send the message, and then you got to go back on the system to get the message. And not that it's terribly flawed, but Palm Street has made it easier, right? Like, it made it easier. You can talk to the breeder, the salesperson live. I can buy an animal from someone in California, and I'm all the way on the East Coast. I don't have to go to a show on the West Coast. I can buy what any breeder at that show has, arguably any breeder at a West Coast show has, from my couch on the East Coast. You're already vetted. The vendor, the people, they vet the buyer. Your account has to be approved. You have to have a valid card. I mean, they have thought about just about everything, right? There's been some kinks along the way that I've seen from watching, but they've done great at fixing them. They've done some incredible things at fixing some of the problems that they've had from what I've experienced.
Their
Um,
customer service is A plus.
yeah, yeah. I got asked to be a seller on there, and when I spoke to Veronica, she was an incredible person, like an incredible person. I couldn't ask for more. I couldn't ask for
Yeah,
more when it came to that. I just don't have the animals, I don't have the surplus to sell like that. I think that Jason and I are going to do one. We're going to do like an annual Gecko Exchange podcast thing, and we'll sell 30 different species of geckos we'll put out there to the masses. But again, you don't have to have 3,000 animals to sell. You can hop on there with just 10 animals to sell. My point is that they cater to the buyer, they cater to the large seller, they cater to the small seller, they cater to the gecko person, the plant person, the 3D printed person. I mean, they are making a hell of a platform, and my concern really is, and I've asked plenty of people, and I don't want to project your answer, but I'm curious myself, as if, will Palm Street eventually replace the reptile show? Will it? Will it? I have to ask myself. I ask myself all the time, what benefit would I have to travel 2 hours to go to a reptile show for if every person that's vending that show is on Palm Street next week? What am I gaining by going to that show? Instant gratification? Am I avoiding shipping? What am I? These are just questions I ask, to help me walk my way through the process. And if that's the case, and I'm me, I know I'm not that unique, right? Like, people clearly think the same way I do. What benefit would there be to? And I enjoy reptile shows. I enjoy going to reptile shows. I enjoy scouring tables and talking to people. But my real my curiosity is how will shows stand up in time versus these new online platforms? It makes me wonder. I have to think. I hope reptile shows don't go anywhere. I've been going to them since I've been a kid. I've been going to the same reptile show in White Plains, New York since 1988. Like, literally been going
That's
to
a
the
good
same show. It
show.
used to be guns in one room, a gun show in one room, and reptiles in another. Like literally, it'd be I hope they don't go anywhere, but I have to ask, even from a vendor standpoint, does it pay for these guys to pack up all these animals, lug them across the state or the country to go to a show? How does it pay for the seller, plus the fees of, the table fees, and, how, I'm trying to think of everything involved. I'm curious to hear what you think. Let me shut
I'm
my
going to
mouth
address it
after
in.
that.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Great points, great observations, and obviously that's in last fall. That's what we were thinking too. Palm Street worked pretty well our first auction. Maybe I won't do reptile shows anymore. And the second I said it was, we're not going to do reptile shows anymore. That's not going to happen because I enjoy being at a reptile show. As long as I'm making a little tiny bit of money at reptile shows, we're going to keep doing reptile shows because it gives me a chance to blab about geckos. Period. I have fun doing that, and I want to keep doing that as long as I'm able to. Um, and we make good money. To your point, our reptile shows going away this fall. We did in a row 3 of reptile shows that were as good as we've ever done a reptile show, other than Tinley and ARBC in the fall. And then we did a better one, and then we did a better one by almost half as much better. And it's to the point where I don't get it. Why this is crazy that we're able to be able to do this. But I'm going to challenge you now. Reptile shows, you said, are they going to go away? Why haven't pet stores gone away? Why haven't pet
Sure.
stores gone
Well,
away? Pet stores have been in existence before reptile
yeah,
shows. Reptile shows come on the scenes. Why do people go to pet stores?
that's a valid point. I
Yeah.
think, well, I don't want to say my point is, it's not my point, but what I hope is that I hope that these online platforms challenge reptile shows to evolve. Because if
Yes.
they're not careful, they can easily, I don't want to say easily be replaced. And I don't mean to sound in a negative way, but there can ultimately be more pros than cons for people to stay home and order online if they don't evolve. If
Yes.
every reptile show were like, I've been hearing a lot of good things about the All American plant and reptile shows. I've been hearing they're phenomenal. Um, but they're always trying to do more, right? They bring in a more versatile crowd. They're bringing in plants along with the reptiles. They got a lot of product vendors. They you know they hire and pay influencers to come in and attend every show. They evolved, right? They took the basic old school idea of a reptile show and were like, okay, how do we do it in 25? And from what I gather, they've been doing it very well. And that's what I can only hope that some of these older shows do. I hope that they don't allow themselves to be naive and think they can't be replaced, because not every show is an NARBC. Not every show is a big organization that does them. Some of these shows, these smaller local shows, are just one-off shows, Wally. And
Yes.
I would hate for them to go away, because I know how valuable they are to children. To
Yes.
children that can go to tables and tables and ask questions and get answers and get inspiration and be inspired and learn. And I don't think you can ever replace that with, a Palm Street. I mean, kids can watch them, sure, but it's not the same. It's like reptile shows to a kid, or zoos where everything's for sale, right? I mean,
As vendors at a reptile show, we also have to realize that these shows aren't about 100% selling animals. We cannot expect every single person that not walks past the table, but stops at the table, not to be buying. And that's, you know, I think the vendors that can get that mindset going are the fortunate ones that realize it is a visiting the reptile zoo kind of mentality for some customers, for some families. In my mind, that's fine. That's fine, and we'll cater. That's a terrible word. We'll we'll entertain our ability and our fortune to be able to talk to those young families and get the kids interested, and maybe mom and dad interested in touching, just touch the tail. So that's our mindset, and that's it will always be that way. And I think you have a great point here in Wisconsin. We have 2 really good shows, Sewerfest and Scaled Up Expos, blatant shout out, that do exactly that and are changing, maybe not every single show, but at least once a year, and adding and moving forward and doing something different for the community, and a lot of times for the vendors as well. So I think that they have to be on their tippy toes and be anticipating some of the changes, but absolutely be aware of what the market is there for. Palm Street. Oh my gosh, what do we do instead of Palm Street? Well, maybe you can't replace it. Maybe you can't battle it. Maybe you offer more. Like Bring in a clown that paints kids' faces. I
Sure,
don't know.
right?
I want my face painted.
That'd be cool, right? I mean, when I was a kid, they
Yeah.
used to do that. They would do, I don't know about the reptile show, but you go to amusement parks and they do the face painting thing for the kids. And, they were family affairs, and
Yes.
I would hate to see it go away for that reason. It's,
Yes.
they're just thoughts. So we're almost at 2.5 hours, and I would love to talk
Wow.
to you for 15 hours, but we, I don't, I'm not, I got more questions. I don't want to end right now, but I don't want to keep you all night. I'm
And,
curious.
and besides, I'm old. I'll just I'll start falling asleep because I'm
Well,
that
see,
old.
this leads to my next
So go
question
ahead, just
because
keep talking, and I'll
I
sleep.
was
I'll just
right.
wake me up.
I've been now that I've been doing this online thing, I've been dabbling more into social media analytics, like in studying attention spans and blah 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 blah. I know you have, so I'm curious. I would like
Sorry, I wasn't listening. I was thinking of something else. What
what what
attention span?
what do
Something
you
about
know?
attention span?
What do you
I
know?
don't
What have
know
you
nothing.
learned? What type of reels are impactful? What type of posts leave the biggest impression or get the most attention? And what about like in YouTube as well? What do you know for what type of formats do the best on YouTube? What advice could you give me as a new creator to help me be successful?
Oh my gosh. You said you didn't want to go 17 more
I
hours.
know, but
But
I gotta
let's do it.
ask.
Let's
I
do it. So I'm going to talk YouTube real quick because I feel like I'm more in tune and more
yeah.
focused to YouTube because I've done it, I don't even know, 12, 15 years. Um, YouTube, do what you like doing and are passionate about on YouTube. If you don't, you'll stop. You'll do, oh, I want to, and oh my gosh, the views and they're going up in subscribers, and then you lose passion, or you're doing something that you don't have the passion for, and you're done. Um, so number one, have a passion. Talk about what you're passionate about. Number two, uh, this is going to be hard because now I'm going to get a little technical. Sorry,
Please, I
but if
want
you're
you to. I
really,
hope you
really
do. That's
into
why I
this,
asked you because I'm like Wally will
this
be
is where it's
technical.
all about.
I would love to hear this.
Number one, you have to get somebody's attention. Number two, you have to hold that person's attention for at least 15 to 20 seconds to 30 seconds. You have to. How do you do that? Well, number one, on YouTube, I'm going to talk long form and short form. Long form, let's talk about long form first. You have to grab their attention by having a really, really, really good thumbnail. I do okay with thumbnails, but you have to have a good thumbnail.
Okay.
Don't do clickbait. Don't do clickbait. Clickbait is something where you promise something, then you don't deliver in the video. Um, I just bought 1,000 geckos, and you have to see this, and then you show the video, and really what you bought was, a lot of anoles or
You'll
something.
never get those
So
viewers again. Yeah.
you'll never get those viewers again. So deliver what you promise. So the thumbnail should be clear. It should have some nice color. It should be short, 3 words. You get 3 words, and that's all you get on that. Or you don't get any words. Don't put any words. I sometimes don't put anything in there other than the picture of the gecko. But you want to have something clear pictures, big pictures of animals. If this is gecko content that we're creating here, so thumbnails have to grab them. They have to. This is what you want for somebody scrolling through all the long form like this. That
Stop them
looks
in their
interesting.
tracks.
Maybe I'll stop and maybe I'll click on that. Okay, now that they've clicked, you've got their click. Now what you want is them to at least watch for 20 minutes, 20, 30 seconds. Stop doing this. Hi, thank you very much for coming to my channel. I'm Wally Kern. What we're going to talk about. No, make it exciting. Write all that down or say all of that, and then take the first 30 seconds and chop it off and throw it away. Once you get to your point, you won't believe this gecko just bred for me. I've been waiting 10 years for this. Join me. Boom, in, out. I want to join. 10 years. You've been waiting 10 years. I've got to see this. So get their attention, get their click, and then keep them there for as long as you can. The more drawn out you are, be a little exciting.
Yeah.
You don't have to be over the top Mr. Beast, yelling, infomercial, but be exciting. This isn't me. I'm going to tell you right now, Anthony, when I'm talking to the family, this isn't me. I talk more like this. And hey, did you see the Brewers just won today? It's pretty cool. Yeah, I think that they're going to go. You have to be a little bit over the top. You have to bring yourself out just a little bit to make it a little bit more interesting. Don't not be yourself, but you have to kind of be an
Amplify it
exciting
a little
yourself.
bit. Yeah.
Amplify a little bit. So once you've got their attention, show a lot of pictures. Nobody wants to see you stand. God, this has been 2.5 hours. Nobody really wants to see this face, at least mine, for 2.5 hours. So show pictures, show videos. It doesn't take anything for, let me just do a video real quick of this 30 seconds and throw that into the video. It's called B-roll. Throw a lot of B-roll in there.
That's what B-roll is. See, I
That's
always
what
wonder, like, I
B-roll is.
don't know these terms. And I also,
A-roll
when
is
you're talking about the video, like, I'm always tossing around, like, should I always have my guest's Instagram page up? Like, I had yours ready to show, but I'm like, damn, I'm having such good conversation with Wally. I don't want to get distracted by that, but I know I got to take my interest out of this, and I got to start thinking about the viewer. It's hard, See, I don't know what to do, I
It depends. You guys, when you do in-depth interviews with people, you show Instagram pages, and that's perfect. We couldn't have done an Instagram page like this. We were all over the place, which is
yeah.
good because I thought it was fun. I think this is a fun kind of way to do an interview.
Like
We're
genuine
just,
conversations. Yeah, it's like
yeah,
like
yeah,
like a Joe Rogan style. I just talk
yeah.
and I talk. I let the guests. I talk. My questions are all genuine and sincere. I write nothing down, but I don't know that that's it's what I enjoy, and I can't really look at it that way. I have to kind of be like, what is the viewer? Because ultimately, I want the viewer to get this information. I'm talking to these people that I know are brilliant, but I want to hold their attention long enough that they hear what these amazing humans are doing in this community. And again, like I said, I know there's these analytics I've been reading about attention spans, and I'm like, damn, man, the best part of that conversation was like an hour in. I'm only holding people's attention for 30 minutes. Like, damn, like what do I do better? What do I do different? What do I hmm.
You got to be you. You have to be you, number one. Number two, then you have to, unfortunately, kind of turn your hat around until you're the customer, until you're the viewer,
Hmm.
and you have to realistically look at your content from the viewer standpoint. So I just did an interview with Monica on cat geckos. Brilliant,
She
brilliant.
makes
But
some
I found
beautiful
this
animals too.
our, huh?
She makes some beautiful animals.
Oh, she makes some
Those
amazing
blue
animals.
striped things are like,
Oh,
what the hell
so
is
I watched that and I had to edit that video from an hour and a half. And the easiest way for me to edit it down was to take pretty much all of my blabbing and stories out of the video and make it about cat geckos. Why did I talk about leopard geckos and morphs when I should have been talking cat gecko? I took it out. Boom, it's
really?
gone. Yes, because the focus, and I know that some people would like to see that, but the focus had to be on cat geckos. I took it from an hour and a half down to maybe an hour and 10 minutes or something like that. That was me blabbing for 20 minutes. Um, so you have to be you, you have to make it real, but you also have to kind of flip your hat and watch things as your viewer would watch them. So again, get the click, get them to watch at least 30 seconds. Then your next objective, and there's all kinds of analytics on YouTube that you can watch, but how is that? How is that retention rate? Does it go like this? Oh, blam. Oh, it's Wally. Oh my gosh, get me out of this video right now. Um, or are you holding people's attention? A couple of good ways with doing that is I'm going to give you 5 points, and oh my gosh, the fifth point, you have to listen to
Brilliant.
this. Yes.
Spread those
So
out
you
through the video.
spread them out and give them the big bang.
See, this is why
And
I
then
asked
when you
you. I
get
knew you would know these things. I knew you would know these things.
a lot of this is just simply watching. When I started, I started doing YouTubes about 15 years ago, and they were just horrendous. Let me now show
I've
you
been watching
my
for nine
notebook.
years. Yeah.
Oh, so about 5 or 6 years ago, I started really trying to build the numbers just so that I could get it out there, so more people were watching and gaining this information. So I started watching the techniques, and you just retain a lot of this after a while. So just try to keep them as long as possible. There's so many good ways. Have something, have bloopers. Hey, at the end of this, I'm going to show you me getting hit in the body part with a baseball. Um, Try to do things like that. If you're comfortable with it, that's the best way. That's long form. Shorts, just make it fun.
Yeah.
Try to be educational. Try to make it fun. I do the hatch boxes. Here's what I hatched today, and that 99.999% of people can care less about that, but that one person is probably going to watch the whole
I
thing.
love those things.
YouTube likes that. YouTube, you're going to watch the whole thing. You clicked on this, and you're going to watch the whole thing. Oh my gosh, gold.
I watch them
Um,
until they repeat or go to the next reel. Like I love them. I love the little hatch things. What constitutes as long form versus short form? What is short form? Like how long is considered short versus long?
It's changed. It used to be 1 minute was a short. It had to be under a minute to be a short, and it had to be
Uh,
filmed in vertical, not horizontal. And now it's changed. You still have to do it in vertical. Think of it as an Instagram or a TikTok reel. It has to be in vertical. Um, but I think YouTube has expanded their length to be at least 2 minutes, maybe three now. I don't like doing that because if I'm going to do 3 minutes, I'm not going to stop at 3 minutes. I'm going to keep talking about something. And now it's a long form. So I'll just film it in long form format. But short form, I try to keep about a minute at the very, very most. Short form, again, you have to grab the attention. You have to retain them watching as long as you can. So those hatching works out really well because you want to see the next animal. I don't want to miss, the last animal it might be something super cool.
yeah.
So you just want to keep them watching.
What do you feel? What do you know statistically about a? What's the sweet spot for a long form length? Where you think it's about an hour, or do you know that it's about an hour? What is the sweet spot for a long form video?
Whatever it needs to be. I hear this over and over and over, and I think that's kind of a cop out. For me, I don't like to do a long form under 6 minutes because if I can talk in 6 minutes, can I try to get it as a short? Can I just do it in a minute? Can I take out all the fluff and just do it in a minute? Maybe I can. Okay, put it as a short. 6 minutes is probably the short cutoff. Long cutoff, what you'll see is probably like 2% of my videos ever go longer than 12 minutes. Um,
Well, your
I might
interviews,
have,
you do your interviews, your podcast,
well,
like your
that's
interview stuff.
different. That's a live. That's a live. That's not
Okay.
a long form video. So the lives, it has to be comfortable. When it's over, you'll find you'll find my lives are generally, let's talk about this, blah 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 blah. Okay, thanks everybody for joining me, and I'm out. And it's about that quick. I end the show.
I
Um,
love those though, because when I'm cleaning all the animals and I'm in a room, I don't want to have to keep going back to my phone. I want to put something on and just listen to people talking about something I might know something about and maybe something I'm interested in learning about. I just, I love those, and especially when you do. I mean, you're my go-to. Obviously, when I go in the gecko room and I'm messing around with 200 geckos, I'm like, let me check Wally, let me check this one, let me check this one. Who's got the newest video out that I haven't heard? Boom.
I think you guys have far surpassed, and I'm jealous by a long shot of what you guys are doing with your guests. You guys are doing such a great job.
Well, I
Um,
appreciate it, but
and for a
we
while, it
don't
was like,
truly
oh,
model as you.
how did they get this guy? And then I was like, hey, how can I get that guy? And then it was like, how did they get this lady? How can I get? And then it was like, I'm
Nice.
giving up. They're so good. I can't do what they're doing anymore. Seriously, you guys are doing a great job and keep it up.
We
That's what
appreciate
you want
that,
to
but
do with
again, you're who
interviews.
we copy. I mean, we pretty much model you. you know,
But you made it exciting and fun to watch. Um,
Wally, you do. Trust me, I
Thank you.
wouldn't watch you if you were. If you were there's plenty of podcasts out there that I get give great information, but I can't watch them. I can't listen to them. I have zero interest. They lose my attention. I'm just like, people start, like you do a good way of speaking to everyone, right? Like you can talk to everyone. I don't know the scientific name to everything. You do it in a way where you will use a common name, introduce the scientific name, and in doing so, you cater to the person that uses the layman terms, you cater to the person who uses the scientific terms, and you just taught the person that doesn't know the scientific terms, and you've made people feel smarter. You do it in a brilliant way, Not everybody, very few people do that, Very few people do that.
I think you're doing exactly that same thing. And I tell you what, you and Jason have the perfect combination between the two of you. Jason is spot on details. It wouldn't work if it were Jason. I'm 100% honest
It's
with this.
truth. You got the
I
scientist,
don't
you
think
got
it
the
would
guy
work.
that's just doing what he's doing. You know, it's
Having fun, man.
it does,
So
but
your
it's
show works perfect.
well, I appreciate that. I really, really do. So back to the analytics. Do you feel that making content? How do you feel about sharing the same content across the board? Like, say I make the reels for this podcast, and I'll this Riverside automatically generates reels, which I'll edit slightly. But I take the same reel, and maybe because I don't know any better, but I'll take the same auto-generated reel from this interview and I'll put it on Instagram and I'll also share that same reel to YouTube. Do you feel that I should do that or do you feel that I should change it? How do you feel about sharing the same content across all platforms?
Yeah, two ways to look at that. Number one, Mr. Beast, and if anybody doesn't know who Mr. Beast is, he's probably the most popular, creator out there. Millions and millions of views, gives away Ferrari, blah blah blah. Anyways, Mr. Beast would say don't ever do that because the different platforms knows when you do that. So they're looking at the different platforms and
That's what I
saying,
was wondering.
you already posted on TikTok the same thing. So here's your analytics score. It's coming down. Um, Never ever ever take a TikTok video that you create in TikTok and share it with Instagram, and because you
I
have the
had a
little
feeling.
watermark,
I had a
yeah,
feeling.
that's really bad, really super bad. Instagram, you have logos and stuff. Instagram hates that. For me, I'm small potatoes, so when I create something, I'll shoot it out to Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Reels. I'll shoot it out all over the place just to get more
Hmm.
exposure. I'll actually try to use, here's my theory with this. All I'm trying to do with my shorts is to bring more attention, more exposure to Supreme Gecko long form YouTube channel. Because number one, I feel like I can offer more through long form videos, more information, more more specific information on the long form. And also we're monetized on long form, so it adds up a little bit. Not that it's going to replace my day job. It just allows me to buy more equipment
Sure.
and stuff
That's
like that.
awesome. Why not? It's great.
So I use these other platforms to exposure and bring people to the long form as much as I possibly can.
So that now you just sparked my interest with that. Now I was going to ask a question, but I might as well ask this one now. How would someone, and I'm not assuming myself because I have zero desire, but how would someone go about getting monetized? What is monetized? How does someone do that?
um, Through YouTube specifically, I'm going to give you an example. You Let me talk about long form and short form video content right now. Short form video is going to get a lot of exposures. We've had some up to just the last year or so, 17,000 views. Not that that's a lot, but for my little channel, it's a good number. Usually we get between 1 to 2,000 views. Of that 2,000 views, we might make 30 cents, a buck 25, something like that. So it's not a lot of money, but it doesn't take that long to do a little short. So once you're monetized, shorts aren't going to provide you with a whole ton of money. Um, and really, the people that are watching shorts on YouTube are probably the same people on TikTok that are swipe, 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 swipe. I'll like it once in a while, and they're watching 5 seconds. Shorts on YouTube aren't going to bring people to your long form as viewers. It's very, very rare that I'm going to watch shorts and okay, now I'm going to go over to Wally's long form videos and watch his long forms. It just doesn't happen. That's people are trending to be 5 second watchers rather than 10 minutes. Monetization, getting back to your question specifically, monetization, you have to have, and it's been 7 or 8 years since I was monetized. You have to have 4,000 watch hours in a year, and you have to have, this has changed, but I think it was 2,000, I think, and then it was 1,000 subscribers, and now I think it's 800 subscribers. So
Really? I thought it was like 10,000 or something.
no, gosh, no, gosh, no. Um, so the numbers have gone down a little bit, but that 4,000 watch hours, it's hard when
Mhm.
you only have like 100 subscribers. Once you have, 1,000 to 5,000 subscribers, it just naturally becomes a little bit easier.
Makes sense. Well, I mean, I know a lot of people have interest in that, and I don't judge them. I mean, God bless them. If it's a way to generate passive income off of doing something you do, God bless. I talk to people that I genuinely have an interest in, so it doesn't really matter. I make great money in my day job, but maybe somewhere down the road, I mean, there's nothing wrong with having the information in my data bank. I think that it's I did you see that reel? I posted this. I remixed this reel the other day, right? The thing's got now 912,000 views,
Holy
right?
cow!
Right?
Holy
It's
cow!
freaking
And
weird.
that's on YouTube or is that on
It's on Instagram.
Instagram or
The original
wow.
one has 5,000 views. I just remixed a reel and I put a caption on it and made something that I thought was funny. But yeah, 912,000 views the last time I looked. But I didn't do any. It was an accident. It literally was an accident. I just thought it was funny, me being me, like cracking a joke, like you quit your day job, and this is what happens when you quit your day job to sell reptiles for a living, and it was someone ranting and raving about something in the reel, and like I said, I feel bad because the original reel that I remixed it from has like 4,000 views. Mine's got 912,000. I'm like, I mean, I put the person in it. I gave the person credit. Like I said, that's who this was. I didn't do it, but it made me think, it got me thinking, like, how does this even work? Like, how do, I get it. Once it started sharing, it's got over 50,000 shares. So I'm like, well, that's how the ball gets rolling. And that's how that happens. I've gained like 800 followers off of one reel, which is a small fraction when you're talking about 800,000 views, but that's not really what I'm interested in. I know it sounds I don't want to sound ungrateful, but the last thing I want is people following me that have zero interest in what I do. I don't want it's cool.
But
It's cool to see happen, because I've never had anything that's gone viral, or nor have I tried to. But now that it has, it's opened up a whole new world for me analytically because I can check those, the stats on it and see what's happening. And it's like, all right, how is this working? Like, what is going on? Figuring that I would come up with some algorithm to crack the code to get my stuff that I really want to share to go like that. But it's very interesting. Very
well,
interesting.
number one, congratulations. That's incredible. Number two, don't feel guilty at all about stitching together with
Yeah.
somebody else's video. It's done all the time, and it's done exactly for that reason 99.9% of the time. And number three, don't feel bad about how many people are watching and subscribing and following. And like I said, with the shorts on YouTube and going over to the long form, I want people to watch our long form. The short forms are more for fun for me. And if
Sure.
people subscribe, that's great. But of those, I think you said 800 or 900 people following you. A lot of people are going to follow you for the right reason, and that's to see your content, your other content. So I wouldn't worry about that at all.
Well, it makes perfect sense too, like
That's
you
my
said, though, and I love that. I guess I subconsciously was doing it like that, but all the short reels are really just to bring attention to the longer stuff, right? Like that's ultimately what
for
I'm
me
doing
it
is like
is.
I'm going to give you little teasers to ultimately bring you to like the full format thing. How do you feel about pre-recording versus? And I know you do lives and you have a huge audience, so lives suit you well. But do you think that there's a difference that someone should be aiming to do lives versus pre-recorded videos?
There's a huge difference, and I'm going to make this as short as I possibly can, or else I could be here for 17 hours between the differences. But here's my thought: long form is delivering the message, and it's building, and it's sustainable, and it's people can go back and watch it, and you can search on and live streams are for in my mind, and I've heard this over and over, but I 100% agree with this. Live streams are for getting to know the person. Um, you guys do it very different, and I'm going to kind of add to that in just a second. So, if you watch one of our Thursday night live streams, you're probably not going to get a ton of information. Now, Thursday, tomorrow, we have somebody very special. We've had very special people, but a lot of the times we're going to have guests that are doing the scaled up expos, and we want to talk and promote
It's
and
awesome.
have fun and share. And once in a while, we'll have somebody very, very, very special that we're really going to get it. But you can't get in depth with somebody on a general standpoint in, an hour, hour and a half, or 2.5 hours. You just can't. So I feel like the lives are the introduction and getting to know people and a little bit of sharing. But again, you guys do it very, very different. In my What I've done this year is I've taken off of what you're doing and I'm kind of copying you guys in that I have my long form, and this is Wally, and Wally sharing tips on mealworm, keeping mealworms, or here's a cool gecko and look, I have babies, something like that. I also have my live streams, and I enjoy those, and I have fun, and we talk to the audience and chat, and chatting is very important on live streams. Um, Recording like we're doing here is different because you guys, I think, are doing it the right way. You record it. I'm also doing that now with people like Phil Trumper and obviously Monique and Paul Murlock from Rack House, and we're getting in depth. We're going to cover gargoyles from A to Z. So I
Paul's your
think all three
guy.
of those. What's that?
Said Paul's your guy.
Yeah, right. So I want to continue that because I personally, Supreme Gecko, I want to take it to that next step and provide more in-depth, but not, in an interview, a live stream. That doesn't work to do that because we have people that have tons of questions and they should be answered. And I want to cater to them because that's why they're there to ask questions. So we're doing the recordings like you guys. Now with these recordings that I'm doing, I am adding a lot of B-roll. I'm adding a lot of videos of the animals and things like that to kind of accentuate, that whole experience for the viewer. So I think it's important. Live streams on our Thursday nights,
You draw a
you know,
huge crowd. I've been in there where there's been damn near 1,000 people. 300 to 500 people. That's a lot of people. I mean, that's like a small auditorium. It's like that's it's impressive. We stop because quite frankly we can't pull the crowd that you pull. It's
and that's a bad way. I'll tell you what, Anthony, that's a bad way of looking at it because you guys are adding a lot to the hobby with what you're doing. The recordings are super great. Um, and I'm taking my lead from you guys. And if Monique was fantastic on your recording, and I did the same kind of exact thing. I'm kind of walking in your footsteps with that. Lives are different, man. If you draw one person or 100 people or 1,000 people, you just have to have fun, and you have to realize that people can watch it afterwards. There's a guy that does isopods
I
and
watch
many other
plenty of them
things.
afterwards.
Russ
I watch them.
Wilson. What's that?
I watch plenty of your lives after, like, because I got to be honest, sometimes I miss them. I'm got a wife and a family and a job, so I can't always be there, but I'll always rewatch them.
Yes, I do the same thing. I think I fell in the trap with Russ Wilson, who had about 50,000 subscribers. I think he's up to 75. And it's like, oh my gosh, look how many people he has in his live streams. How come I get like 1/4 or 1/10 of what he's getting? Eventually you have to give up and you have to say it's got to be fun and it has to be for the people that are watching you. It's our way to connect on a
Yeah,
personal level.
sure, it's interesting. I mean, it's a gift. I know you've paid your price. And you've sacrificed and put in the time, but you have an interesting, very very unique. Well, it is interesting, but a very unique perspective on all of this online stuff. You've grown with it. And it's obvious to me at least. I can see from old videos, even like I said, the 9 years I've been watching you, I've watched you evolve, and I mean, it takes a
It was
brain
so
to
easy
do
though because I was so bad in the beginning.
They
It was
weren't
so easy.
though. They weren't. They weren't. I don't think so.
I
They
appreciate
weren't.
that.
And again, do you think with your consultations, would you be open to coaching people with this type of stuff with social media?
I I I would it would be a blast for me. It would be
Awesome.
so much fun.
I know a lot of
Um,
people that could use that.
I would love
Self-included.
that. And you know what I would do is what I would hope somebody else would do for me is that I would watch their videos and say, here's what I would do. Now you can take my advice or not, and you can look at what I say and say, yeah, that's not for me, or that's just completely BS wrong. That's fine, but I'm just going to throw it out there as far as what I've learned. Maybe it's not what I'm doing, but maybe it's because I don't feel comfortable screaming at people and being, 1,000 times what more than what I am. But I would love to help people. That would be so cool.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Again, guys, great resource, man. If you ever have doubts in yourself or you feel like you could be doing better, or we have to be our biggest critics regardless of what you think. We got to be our biggest fans. We also have to be our biggest critics,
Yes.
and sometimes we just need to talk to someone with more experience than us, man. And Wally's got it, man. I can't put it any more plainly than that. It's a great opportunity that we can reach out to them and have them scrutinize our work, man. Check us out. Let us know what we're doing wrong. What would you do different? I mean, the man's been super successful with all of this social media stuff. I mean, his brand, he has built a brand. It's a gift, if you want it, to put it plainly. It's a gift that we can actually reach out to you, this legend, and consult with you. I hope people take advantage of the opportunity. I hope that we can share this information and maybe let more people know that you are offering these consultations, and just the experience of all the species you have experience with over the years and still work with. And I mean, you're so versatile that you could just about help anybody. It's awesome.
It's a passion. I appreciate the kind words. Sometimes I look at myself and I feel like I'm just another hobbyist. I love sharing because, again, I've said this and I'll say it over and over again because I've made a lot of mistakes, and if I can help one person avoid a couple of those mistakes, I won,
Is it all worth
and they won.
it?
Obviously, they won.
Makes it all worth it. Literally telling my boss today, he was talking about doing something. I'm telling him, like, Mike, you know what? You're going to learn the hard way. You're going to learn the hard way, Mike. But you know what? Let me tell you this. The greatest lessons and the most influential lessons I've ever learned in life have been the ones I learned the hard way, Mike. Have a blast. Go ahead, Mike.
That's a good way to put it.
But, hey. All right, so now we're at almost 3 hours, and I gotta let you go. I feel bad. I gotta take the dog
Oh,
out and go deal with the wife, my damn self. I can't thank you enough, Wally, for giving me this much of your time. I know how valuable 3 hours of your time is, and I can only imagine all the other things that you'd be doing if you weren't sitting here with me. And I can't emphasize how much I appreciate you giving me your time. And always, you have always been more than willing to talk to us, to Jason and I, to come on the podcast, to share information. You're a true paragon in the hobby. You are someone I've idolized from day one. And I know I'm not unique in that either. I know a lot of people look up to you. You and Nanette are staples in this community, and you guys do some incredible things for us. The 12 days of Christmas. Are you kidding me? I mean, that's what do you gain from that? You gain nothing from that. It is for us, for the people. You literally are one of the most selfless people that I've come across in this whole experience, man. And again, on the reptile hobby's behalf, I have to thank you.
Again, every single day I'm blessed. I'm blessed to be able to walk downstairs and open an incubator and see some babies. I'm blessed to open Facebook and answer some questions. I'm blessed to be on a podcast like this where we're sharing information with the community and we're just having a good, positive, productive time. I'm obviously blessed with I don't do anything with the 12 Supreme Days of Christmas. I walk the spreadsheet. It's the donors and it's the people that come in
You
and
orchestrate it. You're the
participate.
orchestrator. At the end
Yeah,
of the day, when you go to a symphony, the conductor doesn't have an instrument. He doesn't, but yet he makes every bit of music that comes out of the band. You know, it's
Yeah, but
gotta give
sometimes I
yourself
feel like
something.
I'm conducting to like Pink Floyd and everybody else is Taylor Swift.
It's the world we live in today. So you want to read us your elevator pitch, where people can find you, maybe any promotions you have. I mean, the stage is yours. Promote yourself as much as possible. And we'll obviously add everything in the comments, the show notes, your links and everything. I'll get all that in there. But anything that you want to promote, share.
Elevator pitch, absolutely. Elevator pitch. I like working and have been blessed to work with common geckos to rare geckos to isopods. Um, we've been in the
Dry
hobby for
goods.
25 years. Uh, we it's all about being positive in the hobby, and I think that if we can share that thought, I think this would be a whole lot better and bigger world in the reptile community. Um, you can find me all over the place. Facebook, Instagram. I don't dance on TikTok, but you can find some videos on TikTok. But especially go to YouTube and watch, subscribe, watch, do the thumbs
Subscribe,
up
guys.
thing.
Subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. Supreme Gecko. Subscribe.
It's all about support from you guys and all that you're doing that helps us keep doing what we're doing. Thank you very much.
Well, you've done the work, man. Again, I don't even think you're done yet. I don't even think you're close to being done yet, man. Hey, listen, just keep doing what you're doing. You know, keep doing what you're doing, and I don't think any wrong could ever come of it. I'm so excited to see what you do with these new jeans. These, you know, the fraps, you know, the cap and the lily jeans. I'm excited for you, man. I'm excited. I'm excited to keep following you. I am honored to have you as a friend. You know, anybody that knows me, man, that I've ever talked to knows how I feel about Wally. So it's
Yeah,
not much else that needs to be said. Everybody knows what I think of you. Well,
I
again, I
appreciate that.
appreciate you
And
coming on.
same thing right back at you, man.
It's
Close friend.
always an honor. It's a complete privilege that we even have, that I can talk to you, let alone have access to to tap your brain. I mean, listen, I'm going to start talking again. So let me just get out of here. Guys, nothing but love for you guys, man. I appreciate every single one of you. If you're not already following Wally, Supreme Gecko, all platforms, I promise you it's a win-win situation, guys. Go check them out, follow them. You know, like, subscribe. We appreciate all you guys, man. And if you do anything, make sure to stay weird, guys. Stay you.
Yes.
Catch you in the next
Love it.
episode, people.